The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this broadcast or podcast without the express written consent of Spaced Out Radio or Spaced Out Radio Limited is strictly prohibited. Listener discretion is advised. Are you experienced?
Stop right there!
From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
They let us play with all our toys, they let us think that we're big boys, they let us make the louder noise, but women rule the world. They let us think we're Superman.
You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on iTunes and TuneIn. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show.
I try to act so cool, but you know I'm just a fool for you. I will stop till I reach the top just to be there with you.
Dave, oh Dave, are you playing with Bigfoot and aliens again?
Dad, you gotta stop haunting the ghost. It's scaring them.
All right, seriously, put down the pointy sticks.
Oh, the deeper I fall.
Okay! Game on! Game on! Game
The password is...
All right.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride on Spaced Out Radio. Mr. Bumblefoot, Dave is ready for liftoff.
I try to act so cool, but you know I'm just a fool for you.
Seriously, Dave? Really? Aren't you a little old for a tinfoil hat?
Hiya! Toby! Bye-bye! Nephew! Bye-bye!
Kids, please take your seat about all. Grab off the edge. It's time for takeoff. Start. 2, 1. Boost to ignition and lift off.
I'm such a lucky guy, 'cause after all this time, it's like the deeper I go, the deeper I fall. The deeper I go, the deeper I fall.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, and it's great to have you along for the ride on this Friday, October 27th, Saturday, October 28th. If you're on the East Coast or across the pond, great to have you with us tonight. Hope you had a great day and night. We are live right here in the Great White North, on top of the mountains of central British Columbia, as we are here for you 7 days a week. We welcome in everyone listening in on our terrestrial stations. WQEE 99 Rock the Key KTLK down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans, and over 160 countries around the world. We are also live at spacedoutradio.com, Spreaker, KTLK, The Fringe FM, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas, the High Plains Talk Radio Network, and if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Like our music, get your horns up for Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL, formerly of Guns N' Roses, currently of Art of Anarchy and Sons of Apollo. Bumblefoot is the official sound of this show. Now, we're all over social media. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, you can follow me at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. Listen to us on iHeartRadio in the United States. Tune us in on TuneIn. We're on TalkStream Live, and you can download and subscribe to our shows on iTunes. And, of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. Now, if you want to take part in this show, you got to do me a favor. You got to sign into one of the chat rooms, either on Revolution Radio, Spreaker, the UPRN chat room, or on Facebook at the SOR Space Travelers Club. Or if you're on Twitter, use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio. You can connect with us there as well. Now, if you head to our website for $5 a month, you can become a member of the SOR Space Travelers Club. You can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Read the Encounter online. Check out my latest blog. You can also fill out an SOR Sightlines report if you've had a sighting or an experience you cannot explain. And we say hello to Tracy and Tim from UFO Seekers. They're listening in on a Skywatch right now. You can catch UFO Seekers and Leslie Mitchell Clark's Contact TV on our site as well. Tonight, it's the final Friday of the month, which means it's time once again from the SOR Paranormal Round Table, where I bring in some friends. We talk about the month that was. Now, we all have questions for tonight's show. None of us really know the answers or what they're going to ask. It's a free-for-all here. I got to introduce you because it is a big party tonight. From the Paranormal Code, we got Rich Giordano, Amy on the radio, Major Amy Martin. She's my major around here. From S4, Eric Cooper, our resident scientist, Eric Markham. From Lighting the Void, Joe Roop. From The Weekend Show on Sundays, Cosmic Passport, Elizabeth Anglin. Welcome, everyone, to tonight's show. How are you all? Good to have you here.
Oh, it's a happy time.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. Not a problem. So there has been a lot of things happening in October. And I don't even know where to start because it's such an interesting month, and normally we're all preparing for Halloween. We're all trying to figure out or do the last-minute alterations on costumes and making sure we have enough candy for the kids who are going to come trick-or-treating. And then, boom, story after story after story. I'm going to start off with a very controversial one. We've been hitting this one pretty hard the last couple weeks here on Spaced Out Radio. And, Amy, I'm going to start with you on this one, if you don't mind. And then it's about Tom DeLonge and the To the Stars Academy. There was a lot of talk going into this that Tom was going to be a leader in the disclosure movement and the field of ufology. He brings out this big press conference where everybody has a feeling that disclosure may happen with this team of unknowns that Tom is going to announce who they are. It's like OJ's dream team of lawyers, and nothing happens with disclosure. Absolutely nothing. So I'm curious, Amy, being, who you are with your popularity, your radio show, and everything along those lines, when you read into this, did you expect what was going to happen, or did you expect more?
Really, I try not to have very many expectations when it comes to any type of so-called disclosure, especially like what with, like the JFK releases recently, you really can't have any expectations that anybody's going to just all of a sudden just come up with the smoking gun and that's just it, and everybody can rejoice, and then all of a sudden, we have all the confirmation we need of this, that, and the other. I can't expect anything like that to really happen. If it does happen, I would be really surprised. But yeah, I don't think, even with Tom's stature, I guess in celebrity circles, in his most recent sort of wandering into the paranormal and UFO communities, I don't think I really expected a whole lot from him anyway. I don't think he's been at this long enough. And even so, the ones who have been at it long enough still don't have, the best evidence. All of the so-called disclosure that they've been just sort of going on about for years and years. So it's, I can't expect anything really.
I was one of the ones who was very disappointed because I think he led a lot of people on. I think he led a lot of the UFO movement and what was supposed to be a night of disclosure or a day of disclosure, and that we were taking a lot of steps forward, Rich Giordano. I think it ended up being a telethon. You deal a lot in the UFO field, Rich. You call a spade a spade. I'm curious to get your reaction to this.
You sure?
Just remember, we are on terrestrial radio, so we do have to use the edit button.
No, you're good. You got a 1 minute delay. I understand. Yeah, DeLong. Wow, and he just did an interview on a very popular podcast and wouldn't answer the important questions. But when he said he was going to have this announcement February, and then it's going to be this, and it's going to be a little bit of disclosure, a little bit here, a little bit there. I'm going to announce this dream team of people. Nobody's going to know what's going to happen except me, and nothing. And then months later, October comes. Oh, yeah. You know what? To the stars. By the way, $200 minimum donation, please. Now we have over $400,000. We're going to make an anti-gravity spaceship that can go in through water, air, land, and space. And I need your money. And I see it as a money setup. I see it as a money-grabbing tree that he wanted to get involved somehow, feel important, maybe because Blink-182 isn't doing so well. These guys need the adrenaline rush. I don't know. But one of the questions I was asked to him, why are you so special? Why would they want to disclose anything to you? Who are you? Well, I don't want to talk about that right now. And that's what we're always going to get with Tom DeLonge. I just do not respect anything that this guy is saying, doing, or going to say he's going to do. So far, nothing, not a zip. Typical.
Eric Cooper, you are very involved on the extraterrestrial scene and UFOs with Forest Moon Paranormal and S4. I know you have spoken your disappointment about it. What has you so upset about this announcement?
Well, what I'm looking at right now is he's at 1,641,827. All I see is a money grab, and a money grab it is. And like you said, he brings up this big disclosure thing, and that's actually one of my questions for the night. Is had to do with Trump and his disclosure, and is he going to follow along with DeLonge and be the next UFO disclosure along with the JFK files? I see all these people jumping on the bandwagon because it's the next money-making scheme. And I don't see, it'd be great if it was actual disclosure, but it's not going to be.
Well, the way I see it, where I was disappointed, Eric Markham, was the fact that there wasn't a single word on his website about UFOs or disclosure. It's all about raising money and selling his product, whether it's secret machines or whatever it may be. And this is a field, Eric, that doesn't have a lot of money. There's not a lot of rich folk covering the paranormal. There's not a lot of people who are living higher than a budget. And yet you're hitting up these people on an elusive dream to ask them to pay for your spaceship when absolutely no one is going to ever be able to ride on that thing, even if you are a shareholder.
Well, that's what struck me from the beginning, that it just seemed to me it was a has-been rock star who, thrived on the adulation of the crowd, and this was his way of regaining his relevance. And the whole idea that he has managed, like you said, this isn't a field you get into to make money, and he has managed to get over $1 million in pledges, it does two things. One, it makes us all look like idiots because, I think the problem is so many people just want to have that proof. They want that proof, and they
Absolutely.
just, they're willing to grasp at straws to get it. And he figured out if he he put this out, he'd get enough idiots that would, throw the money in. P.T. Barnum has said it best.
Absolutely. And, Tim Doyle from UFO Seekers, if you haven't gone to his YouTube page to check out the video that he made in regards to breaking down all the investments and the money and where it's going to go, I highly suggest you go to ufoseekers.com or go to his YouTube page to check out the video that he did about Tom DeLonge. Other media outlets, even though they wouldn't name Tim's name, they were absolutely ostracizing him for going that in depth where every penny of this is going. And, Tim did a great job, but I think the disappointing part for me is and Canadian Joe on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio brings up a good point. He says, what's surprising and disappointing at the same time is investigative journalists like George Knapp, Leslie Kean, and Linda Moulton Howe all let DeLonge off easily. They didn't go at him. Joe Roop, I'm curious, what are your thoughts?
I'm kind of not with the crowd on this one. I don't, I think that I really think his heart's into it. And I think he really wants to do something revolutionary. Yeah. But after watching the Joe Rogan podcast and him dancing around all these questions, like Rich is saying, you get tired of listening to the guy dance around. That's all he's doing is dancing around everything. But I think his heart's in it. And, I'm not putting my money in it, even though he's saying, well, you'll be a shareholder of the company. Hey, that's better than a donation, but I'm not putting my money in it. So it's a negative to me.
Well, let's be honest. How much of a say are you going to have at $200 for one share?
Not much at all, man.
Right? And that's the reality of it. And you're not even guaranteed to get that money up. I believe the shares are only going to come out at 0.03 of a penny or something. So even though you're investing $200, the share is only worth $5, probably less. And Elizabeth Anglin, you're an experiencer. You have had numerous experiences with extraterrestrials. How does this make you feel? Does this feel like a Ponzi scheme to you, or does it feel, genuine?
It's somebody taking advantage of the field who has a name, who has the connections in the media in order to use the name of the field and their own name together to make some money. And there's, I would be very surprised if he came up with any major disclosure. Maybe there'll be some photo footage. We've got people sending us great photo footage, but all he's got to do to say that he did something is come up with something like we get from our chat members, so plausible deniability will be his thing.
I'll tell you something that made me very suspicious of this, and if anybody wants to respond before we move on, I would be more than happy if you did. Does anybody on the panel think that it is awfully strange and maybe a little too close to the hip that George Knapp, who is a very highly respected reporter in this field, I think George is magnificent at the job he does. He doesn't stray away from asking the tough questions. However, on Joe Rogan's podcast today with Tom DeLonge, Tom actually admitted that George is going to be writing one of the forewords to his brand new book in regards to UFOs. Having the media that tight at your hip, is that a little dangerous for what we are doing here, guys?
I'll speak to that. No, actually, that's how you sell a book. So I would say, good for him for getting George to do that. That's how you sell a book. That's a smart and media savvy thing to have a media person who is well known do that. But, he's still, anyway.
Well, I'm going to debate you on that, because as a journalist, the law of journalism 101 is you don't play favorites. And this is showing, in my opinion, somebody who's a credible journalist like George Knapp is showing bias by writing the foreword of this book and even going on other shows to promote what DeLong is doing. That's the issue I have on it.
I guess.
But why?
But he's done it before, Dave. He's done it for other people. So it's not, you can say he's this great journalist. He's not doing anything differently than he has done before.
I guess my question would be, what makes him really believe in what Tom has to say? Because I'm really looking, on one hand, you have a book. You can look at that separate from, his other venture, this company that he's put together, and he's asking for, these donations. And with this particular company, I'm not really seeing a clear product just emerge from any of the material that's available online. It's really vague. It sounds like it's more weighted toward a media company, somebody who is looking to make documentaries and TV shows and things like that. Somebody who's willing to explore ideas, kind of like what we're doing right now on a podcast. We could talk all day about things. And I'm not really seeing a clear product emerge here other than, just some vague things about, ideas for technologies that they would like to explore and, media ventures.
But also, if I may add, Tom DeLong is putting himself out there. He's risking everything, it sounds like. And if this doesn't work out, he's done. He's going to be done with everybody. So he's the head of this new thing, To the Stars, going to make the machine to take us out there. If it doesn't work, everybody can put the blame on him.
Yeah, well, that's $1 point how many $1 million. That's a nice swan song. I could retire comfortably on that.
Well,
and
then
fade into oblivion.
He'll have lawsuits and things. I don't see this working out for him at all in the long term. I just don't know how it's going to work out.
Well, he's not going to be able to build anything with that.
No, I know. He's going to need billions, if not $1 trillion.
With media, even that's chump change. If you're looking at making several films or working on, several TV shows, that's not going to cover a budget, and that's of course not going to build one of those things that he's talking about wanting to do. And one thing I see on there, he's addressed like ground-based laser propulsion for stuff like these little satellites and stuff. I'm very familiar with that. Actually, I know one of the creators that helped put together the roadmap for one of the breakthrough projects, and I knowing how long that's going to take. See, that itself, the technology, because we talked about the technology. It's going to take them 30 years for Moore's law, which runs in tandem with the development of laser-based technologies to even catch up and make it even affordable to be able to go through with this thing.
I'm curious though, Rich, as a ufologist, I know you've been out in the field with, just for a long time. If someone was going to hand you $11.5 million and give you all of these relationships with these so-called people that are in all these groups, Skunk Works and all that, what would you do?
My God, I don't know. I would go to people I think I could trust. Maybe start off with Richard Dolan, see who he knows, and work my way around. People like that are in the know that I think I can trust, that I've been following over the years. I don't know. I wouldn't know what to do now, but I would have to start from scratch. So it's a tough question to ask me.
Rich, bring up, I'm sorry to cut you off, but you bring up a very good point. I mean, nobody who has been in this field for the last 30, 40 years is involved with this.
Right.
And to me, when I saw the names on the website, I'm looking for, the Stanton Friedmans, the Grant Camerons, the Stephen Bassetts, even Stephen Greer, love him or hate him. Okay, yeah. I'm looking for all these people, and none of them were there. It's like he just stayed right out of the zone on the names that would attract people in to possibly help him raise more money.
It looks like he's trying to rebrand the UFO community. I mean, It looks like he's not trying to attract people that would normally be attracted to those names.
That is a good point, though. Yeah. So, man, what's his agenda? It's really odd. It's just so out there.
Yeah, do we know for a fact he didn't reach out to him, though? Do we know that he didn't try?
I can tell you this. Grant Cameron, who will be on this show on November 23rd, okay, I just confirmed it today. We are going to have 2 straight hours of talking about Tom DeLonge and what Grant Cameron has learned about this. And it is going to be a very power interview that I am very much looking forward to. But here's the other thing about this, guys, that I find very, very interesting about this topic is the fact that, we have Tom sitting there, playing the fact that he is the up-and-coming, that now it isn't about UFOs. If we find a UFO, we're going to get lucky, and he's playing that card now. Yet on the podcast again today, as he stated recently, he's also stated that we shouldn't want extraterrestrials here. ETs are bad. We need to put weapons like nuclear missiles up in space to protect ourselves from them. Apparently, he's saying they're scared of our nuclear capabilities. I'm thinking, if we do have ET contact here, which I'm convinced there is because I've had it, numerous other people have had it, okay, if they can travel from other universes or solar systems to get here, and they could bend the time-space continuum the way we think they can in order to travel here, okay, I'm pretty sure they have a weapon that can defeat nuclear weapons, especially if the U.S. military story is true that in the 60s and 70s, these spaceships were flying over nuclear missile silos in the United States, Russia, and elsewhere, and shutting down the silos. And if they wanted to take us over, they pretty much could at the snap of a finger. And I think it's naive for anybody to think that if aliens can already have the technology to get here, that they wouldn't have already taken us over if they wanted to. Your thoughts, Eric Cooper?
Well, he's a fool to think that the extraterrestrials are off world are scared of our nuclear weapons. No, they're worried about them. I can guarantee that because of what can happen out there due to our own pollution and whatnot. But are they scared of our stuff? No. Like you said, they could annihilate this planet in a blink of an eye if they wanted to. You astounded me with that comment. Yeah, that's a cocky individual right there that even remotely thinks that.
But hold on, Eric. I'm going to throw a little caveat in there. If by chance his insiders, whether it's his team members, whether it's John Podesta or whomever else he hasn't named as a source, has told him that these ETs are bad news, like he is promoting, okay, could it then verify the fact that President Eisenhower actually did make a deal with the devil, i.e. the bad aliens, which was technology for human beings?
It could, but you and I both know from some experiences that there aren't just bad aliens out there. There are good aliens that are actually neutralizing what the bad ones do. So, and if that's his stance, it's kind of the opposite of Greer. Greer is the all-knowing space brothers, and they're all good, where he's taken the other end of that seesaw with, they're all bad, and where's the middle ground?
Absolutely. Anybody else like to comment on that?
Well, according to my alien friend, there was a 50-year treaty that was made in 47, and it went to 97, and it ended then. And, I actually think there's a lot to that as an abductee, and seeing other people on ships and seeing how people were treated. I got relatively good treatment because I was working with John Mack, and it was sort of a disclosure thing, like let's make it nice instead of let's really show the bad side of it. So I and my friend the engineer, he said, yeah, there was a 50-year treaty. We make treaties all the time. This is what we do. And we keep those agreements. We expect everybody else to keep those agreements. So it's not that they're taking over, but there was no way really that I think Eisenhower felt that he could say no.
Well, I'm going to end it on this. A number of months ago, back in August, we had David Schock on, and I thank Trip in the chat room for reminding me of this. David Schock is part of the CubeSat 4 disclosure team that's actually going to be launching specific satellites that shoot up and down every 5 seconds with camera photos to take pictures. And they're hoping to catch pictures in their 3 months of having the satellite up there of UFOs. I honestly will tell people that is a much better investment. It only costs about $16,000 to put a satellite in the air. So if you throw them a buck, you know your buck is going to go somewhere. And, you know, I think it's a better investment than a lot of other people. Anybody else on this topic before we move on?
We already really have that out there. It just depends on whether or not you trust the data. And I'm sure there are going to be people out there that will not trust the data from this independent survey, just like a lot of people don't trust the data from NASA. They think NASA cuts the cams all the time when the UFOs come around. But, you know, I mean, it's just going to depend on, you know, what level of trust exists out there and who they're trying to cater to.
Yeah, and we also jump in here, but we also have to assume that treaty really did happen, and if it did, and that ended, then why haven't we been attacked and things haven't gone crazy? Well, maybe it never really was signed, maybe it never happened, but DeLong had to go a way that nobody else is going. Everybody else is doing the lovey-dovey way. I think he picked an original route. I think it's just an advertising ploy just to get people thinking totally different. That's why he's got new people, a new thought, a new agenda, and new money.
New sideshow.
Yeah, yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Why would they... Wait, I have a question, Joe. Joe, why would they attack us if a treaty ends? If somebody refuses to re-sign a treaty, it doesn't mean you get attacked.
I know. I just had to say something.
Yeah,
That was Rich, by the way.
Oh, Rich.
Joe.
Sorry, not Joe. Rich, sorry.
Yeah, I couldn't come up with something more logical as quick as I could go. So I just said, why'd you have to say that? All right.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's move on to the next topic. And Eric Markham, let's get to your first question of the night.
Okay, here's the thing. If we ignore 1956, the 2 weekends that we had flyovers of the White House, and we don't count that as disclosure, what is true, you know, honest to God, landing on the White House lawn or whatever, you know, Piccadilly Circus and somewhere, honest to God, UFO contact, landing, you know, what's that going to do? Just society-wide. And how are people going to explain it away? Or, you know, there's going to be people who aren't going to believe it no matter what. So how do we get around that?
You know, I think people have enough problem dealing with the NSA and privacy.
Everyone's going to say CGI. Everyone's going to say it's fake. How do we get around that? You have to have someone in official capacity. We've had this talk before. Have someone like the Pope come out and say, yes, the aliens are here. The Pope has more authority or more, I think, respect for most religions than any of the world leaders do. So he'd be the one you would want about.
I don't know. He'd be things I don't necessarily believe in, so I don't know if I could buy it.
No, first of all, we have to blame War of the Worlds, the radio show, because when they did that thing live, it really showed how people would react at that time. I know the 30s is not now, but so we still live in that world and that mindset. So if we did come out with something convincing, they couldn't just come over like Independence Day and park their vehicles, because that would look like bad intentions. So how can they do it? The only way they could do it is if they said in advance, lay it out 30 days ahead of time so you get the public crazy at first, and then slowly release a little information. And look, now we're going to introduce you to the species. They come from wherever, and here's Bobo. And next thing you know, they were shaking hands with aliens.
So like Mars attacks, right?
A little bit.
Do you think it would be that, or do you think it would be more? Well, would it be more of the, take the Childhood's End, where they show up, they absolutely they don't obliterate, but they cancel out everything except life support in hospital, critical systems like that. Everything. They show their absolute superiority, and they just sit there.
Then we point our missiles
Now what do we do?
Then we point our missiles
We could. No, you didn't listen to me. They disabled all of that.
Oh,
planes stopped in the air. I mean, it was all electronics, all weapons systems. The only thing that was still running were life support in hospitals, critical life support in hospitals. Everything else, if it was something humanitarian that couldn't be used for a military purpose, it was left on. But everything else, anything tactical, anything military, they just showed that, you can't get past us. We are overwhelmingly superior technologically. And then over a course of years, they were, they gave us our power back, but then over a course of years, they revealed, and they didn't come out right away. I think it was like almost 100 years before they ever showed themselves. And there was a plot twist for that. But I think Arthur C. Clarke had a better idea of how it might go. We're going to know they're there, and we're going to know they're overwhelming.
So we feel like we're being enslaved in our own planet. That's good.
Well, no, it was never like that. It was just a matter
I'm just saying
of...
that's how it would feel to me. I mean, that's how I think. I mean, that was written ages ago. But
just think of them as like a foreign power. If a foreign power decided to turn off all the power grid in the United States, except for certain critical things, and then basically held you hostage and said, "See, here's what I can do," that would be an act of war. That's like cyber warfare. You have to think of it.
It's only an act of war it's only war if you can fight back.
I think mine is a little gentler, a little more nice approach. I don't want them proving they can knock our planes out of the sky and just keep the people in the hospitals okay for a little while longer. I just don't like that. I'm sorry, I don't have to, right? I mean, it's just one point of view, but I'm just saying to me that's an act of war, really. I mean, they don't have to show they're powerful. They could come in, be gentle, send signals little by little. Oh, well, hey, we're coming. We're out there in space. See that's us. We're coming. We'll be there in a year. So get ready. Here's what we're going to do. We'll come in March, and then in April we'll do this. In March, May, and June we'll do that. And maybe lay out some groundwork for us and learn how to communicate and go from there, I guess. I don't know.
I think that works if you're rational.
Yeah, right.
And here's the thing, though. How do humans react? You see a spaceship that's coming down. Look at, I think the movies portray it perfectly. They see a spaceship, it's automatically, we got attacked. So what are they supposed to do? They're going to be attacked the minute they come down if they actually show themselves in a physical ship. I think the first thing strategically would be to, like you said, Malcolm, an EMP blast globally, and then here we are. That'd be the
I think they didn't even have to use something as destructive as an EMP blast. They just could, and you got to look at, my opinion is kind of like what Dave was saying earlier. If they can get here, they can wipe us off the planet just like we kick an anthill over, probably even easier. The power that they are harnessing to, one, bend space, create wormhole. Anyhow, their power, if weaponized, literally Bambi versus, Godzilla. Who's going to win? And it's going to be just like that. A big old foot coming down. Okay, next. If they are malevolent, it's going to be over before we even knew it started. So if there are, we have to assume that if they are already here, like a lot of people say, they must not be the biggest buttholes in the universe, or we'd already be, dog food, or select your
it's people
your use. Yeah, we'd already be the Soylent Green factory,
right?
Unless we got some kind of deal worked out with them. I don't know if you guys have ever studied Preston Dennett's work, but he believes that we got some kind of deal worked out with them, and they're farming precious metals off of our planet.
Yeah.
I don't know about
Well, here again, a reason that doesn't work for me.
I can confirm that.
Well, that doesn't work. I mean, why did they?
Why would
No,
they
because we can prove we can transmute. I mean, that was the whole part of chemistry, was showing how we could turn out one element into another by bombarding a nucleus with protons, or so surely they're more advanced.
Dirty, Eric. That's exceedingly
but that's not
dirty.
precious metals, and you can't turn anything into. You can't do that with gold, silver, and copper.
You can't turn things into gold, and our technology of bombarding, it creates so much waste. That's not something they do. If it's available, you might as well use it, because that's practical.
Well, it just seems.
Why would aliens?
Well, it seems like we're talking out both sides of our mouths here. They've got almost unlimited power, unlimited technology, but they don't do it this way.
They don't have unlimited technology. They don't have unlimited power. If you actually sat down and talked to one, you'd find out that a lot of that stuff is smoke and mirrors. They're not that far ahead of us, but there are some things they do know how to do that that are hundreds of years ahead, if not thousands for some of them. But basically, it's not magic, Eric. It's a matter of practicality and utilitarianism. And it's utilitarian if you can mine things, if it exists and you can identify it quickly and go get it, versus making a bunch of waste to bombard things and having a bunch of waste product. That's not smart.
Okay, but why do you have to negotiate? I mean, do we negotiate with the chickens we send to the slaughterhouse and eat? I mean, why do they have to negotiate with us?
They're probably
to
not
have
negotiating.
Why don't they just take them?
Yeah, they're
what
maybe
kind
they're
of
not all
contract do you have?
Negotiating with
Chickens
us.
can't negotiate.
Well, the other thing is there are negotiations, but they're not with us. It's like who is working the gold fields up in Alaska and the Yukon? There are Zetans that work up there in the gold fields in Alaska, up above Eagle. There are places where there are certain groups doing certain things, and the negotiations may be with our Black Ops or our MyLabs, and then with reptilians, and then with other groups. So it's not just about us. We say, well, how come they? And it's like, you guys we're not even scratching the surface of who they is and how many agreements they have with each other.
Okay, has anybody on this panel ever mined gold ore?
Yes.
Yes.
You move a lot of rock before you get any. It's not a very efficient way of getting things.
Yeah.
Unless you find unless you get a really good vein somewhere.
Stamp presses, riverbeds. I've done that. It's very hard. But what I would just be really skeptical about is the fact that there are so many other asteroids out there, even near Earth asteroids, that have way more gold and platinum and silver and iridium, palladium, rhodium, tungsten. I mean, seriously, there are even planets nearby that rain diamonds.
Yes, but they don't have American freedom yet.
Interested in Earth for this when it's not as plentiful.
They're all blood diamonds.
Right.
They don't have American freedom yet. Dick Cheney has not claimed them as freedom yet.
Have you ever landed on an asteroid before and tried to do something there?
Yeah,
Just
that
saying.
precious metal
I would
farming
assume you
story
just
goes
eat,
all
you
the way
break
back
it up
to the
and suck in the debris.
And what are you gonna? Yeah, okay.
Moving
if
on.
you're into the Anunnaki, Dave. Sorry.
We got about 12 minutes before we got to go to break here. Elizabeth, let's get to your first question of the night.
My question actually has it has very little to do with aliens. It's about the files that were released because I, not wearing my glasses, decided to just start reading the files as they were presented. And I ended up in a bunch of stuff with Snowcroft and the CIA from 1975. And I'm like, this is making no sense. I want to know how many other people got roped into 1975 and Assad and Syria and the PLO, just like I did, and what you thought of the files when you read them.
Oh my goodness! I think I've only had a chance to read a couple of the files in regards to what's gone on, but I've been less concentrating on what was happening with Cuba or the Middle East or anything along those lines or terrorist organizations than I have been with trying to figure out if there was a second shooter or not.
Right.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions about that.
Who didn't have that question on their list tonight?
Which one? About the second shooter?
Second shooter? Yeah, they were looking for that.
No, I haven't even been looking at that.
Oh, yeah.
My tinfoil hat's off tonight.
Your tinfoil hat is never off.
Sealed indictments for Monday.
It isn't, but it's Halloween. So, it's Halloween. So, yeah, I'm not even looking at conspiracy stuff. Especially since my mate's in Vegas. I don't even want to think about shooters in Vegas right now.
I think Vegas is probably the safest place to be right now. I'd be in Vegas right now if I could. I would.
It probably is. It probably is.
Absolutely. All right. JFK, the files, in regards to Elizabeth's question. What do you think's happening there, Rich?
I really don't know. I know nothing. I'm sorry. I just haven't been reading anything about that lately, so I really don't have an answer.
All right. Have you been staying away from it on purpose?
I guess I have. You can say that, only because everything's redacted probably, and we're not going to see anything anyway or know anything new, so I just figured it's till I hear something groundbreaking, then I'll pay attention.
Exactly. That's my stance on that. I haven't been looking at it. Not to mention they just released them, last night or something?
Yeah.
Because so I was working on I'm actually taking intelligence this month, which I don't even like the word because I don't see much intelligence in the U.S. government. But that's the class I'm taking. So it's hard to find decent articles to write about in this class because everything is focused on Trump and JFK files and yada yada yada. And so originally I found where those files were actually being blocked from Trump, and all of a sudden they're being released. So what gives that? They're blocked, now they're not. And my question kind of goes along with that. Like I said earlier, is UFO disclosure Trump's next project?
I don't know how long he's going to have a next project, to be honest.
Did you say UFO? Did you say UFO?
I don't think UFO's on Trump's mind, honestly.
No, I don't think so either.
They use that when they want to get votes. That's the only time they use that. That's the only time you'll ever hear them talk about that.
About getting disclosure?
Yeah, to put out. Yeah.
It isn't going to happen.
I'm surprised Trump didn't bring up JFK files to get voted.
Yeah, probably didn't know that was there. Probably didn't even know about it.
Apparently not.
JFK files is just pretty much fanboy ephemera. It's people running around, like the FBI running around and interviewing other people and foreign governments, asking them what they think about what happened, and it's just silly. I haven't found anything even useful in there. It's just all basic reporting. It's speculation. No hard evidence or anything.
Yeah, but didn't Everett put up I could have swore I saw Everett throw up an article, or it showed a frame of where it was talking about more bullet holes that weren't talked about before, or something that was showing there was a second shooter. Maybe I didn't see that. I thought I saw that today.
That does ring a bell. No, you think you're right. That does sound familiar. Yeah, that there was some extra, like a hole in the car or something in the seat. I don't know what it was, but I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it showed it was a different angle, you know. Yeah, that's right. I don't know.
Nobody wants to touch it. It's I'm hearing crickets.
You know what?
Go ahead.
Well, it's too new. Now, next month I might have some information on it, but yeah, it's too new. And again, enforcement has been slammed with cases. I've got schoolwork, and I haven't really had time to even look at it. So that's why I'm quiet, because I don't know what to say about it.
Well, I think disclosure on false flags and stuff like that to me is just as important. I don't know if you guys agree or not. That was going to be one of my questions. Is disclosure on the government conspiracies just as important as disclosure on UFOs?
Well, agreed.
On a different level, yeah.
Yeah, very important.
Because, you know, a lot of government disclosures are actually parallel to UFO disclosures. Because look how many UFO files are in the government that, you know, they go, to me, they go hand in hand.
Do we really want a government confessional right now?
Really, that's true.
Do we really want that right now? I mean, seriously.
Well, it may be a nice distraction.
Well, I personally don't really care about all of the dirty laundry that went on during the Cold War. And, you know, I know that there were things that were done wrong. And I know that there were things that were done to probably keep us all alive. And I know that there are some things that happened that were probably none of my business. I don't even want to know about. I wouldn't want to carry that, you know, around, you know, even though it had nothing to do with me. You know, it would still be on my mind. You know, they have to weigh things like that. You know, do people of the world really need to weigh these things on their minds? You know, because there was a lot of nasty stuff going on back and forth. You know, between United States and Russia around those times, and yeah, I mean, there were you can even look at all the you know, at its most basic core, all of the you know, psychological ops programs, and you know, things that have been disclosed from that, and you know, you just have to ask yourself, okay, well, to what end are we going to benefit from this? You know, if it's still going on, then, you know, if it's unethical, then yes, things like that need to be stopped. But
well, it's like the thread in the sweater, Amy, because, you know, and really it's for academics. You and I were not academics. We're not going to go and look at all of this stuff in depth and say, oh, that's how that played into that. And we had all these other theories about how Syria and JFK and all of these other things in the Cold War happen. And here we have it now on paper showing us where we were wrong. But if is something like PSYOPs that started and then evolved into something else that we don't have information on yet, we do need to know where the threads of the sweater begin. And you and I know we're not going to go do that. But if somebody would and bring it to light, a journalist or a good writer, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I agree I do think it's important. I think your personal sovereignty and freedom is important then as it is now. And it's, you know, it's good to know the truth, whether it's past, present, or future, even if it doesn't benefit you or your wallet or your whatever you're wanting, you know.
And I'm all about the truth. I'm all about wanting to know the truth. And yeah, there's just, I personally couldn't work in an area like that because I have to know what's going on from the top down when I'm working for an organization. But, you know, when you're looking at things like that, it's like, well, to what end do we really want to, you know, dig deeper into these things? Because, you know, you dig deep enough and it could be putting a lot of people in danger. There have been a lot of people that have lost their lives. People, we will never know their names, who have died just to maintain just safety for everybody. Just make sure that we're still a species living on Earth even.
Does it bother any of you at all, and I'm saying this as the token Canadian on board here, that the alphabet agencies are the ones who are really holding this entire thing up? That maybe that they have a few too many secrets outside of, well, we still have operatives who are alive right now. that could be tied to other things. Does that bother you that the alphabet names like the CIA, NSA are tying this up, Joe?
Yeah, it does, because the speech that JFK said when he talked about secrecy was repugnant to our freedom. Where you have the argument secrecy is repugnant to our freedom, then you have the other side where it's something that's necessary for our national security, and it's too touchy to mess with. Don't want to mess with that. Just let them do their thing. That's the whole problem, I think, of this country, is we put entirely too much faith into people that wear ties, that have brains, that just like us and bleed like us, but because they have ties and power and stuff, we're just going to let them do what they want to do. And that's what he was saying in that speech, and he got shot for it. And I think we owe a great debt to find out the truth to what happened to him.
We have time for one more comment.
I was just going to say it's frustrating, yes, because, we want to know the truth. I say I understand there may be some people still alive back then, whatever, that were involved with it, but why not tell us the truth and change the names, like they do on TV, just for the sake of just telling the story. We can still know the truth. We don't have to know exactly everybody who was in it and what their role was. Right. But then again, when you look at that part of it, if they came out and started telling us the things that they are paying us to keep secret, then we're going to be shocked. Deep down individually, we can handle it, but as a group, if we start marching against what we did in the 60s, and oh my gosh, we killed Kennedy for this, and that, oh, no way, our country did this? Yes, your country did that. Well, it would be amazingly bad.
All right, I got to cut you guys off right there as we're going to hop out for our first break of the night. We have Joseph Roop from Light in the Void, Elizabeth Anglin from Cosmic Passport, Amy on the radio, Amy Martin. We call her Major around here. Rich Giordano from the Paranormal Code, and E Squared, Eric and Eric from S4 and Spaced Out Radio joining us for the Friday night edition of the SOR Paranormal Round Table that happens the final Friday of every month. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. We'll be right back after this.
365 days a year, we're in the field, investigating UFO sightings, talking to alien abductees, and visiting secret military locations like Area 51. We're UFO Seekers, official partner of Spaced Out Radio. Follow our daily search for the truth at ufoseekers.com or like us on social media. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
From coast to coast to coast, Blacklight Uncharted is taking on the paranormal across Canada. From ghostly hauntings to the UFOs flying above in conjunction with MUFON Canada, we're closely investigating what's going on in the northern skies and checking out the apparitions that walk among us. Check out our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com. We want to know your thoughts, we want to hear your experiences, and we want you to share your stories. The answers are out there, and we intend to find them.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
It's paranormal news at its finest. Welcome to The Encounter. At spaceoutradio.com, The Encounter online is SOR's trusted news source for everything weird and strange going on around the world. This is news editor Eric Markham. Our team of journalists are scouring the planet for those strange stories that rarely make the mainstream. No fear-mongering or fake news here. Head over to spaceoutradio.com and encounter The Encounter.
Want to learn more about aliens, cover-ups, conspiracies, cryptids, and the paranormal? All you have to do is tune in S4 as we take over Spaced Out Radio Night, starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, each and every Saturday night, right after Spaced Out Saturdays. Hi there, this is Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. Join me, Corey Ruiz, and friends as we discuss the hot topics of the night. It's fun, entertaining, and as dark as the night. Find us at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Are you an experiencer? Have you had run-ins with strange creatures you can't explain? ETs, Dogman, Bigfoot, werewolves? They're enough to scare the daylights out of anyone. Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski from your 4-Cop. And on the last Monday of every month, you can listen to me and the host, Dave Scott, talk about the weird and the strange being reported on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going to bring my investigations and sources, you bring your experiences, and we'll figure out the rest together. Strange Days on Spaced Out Radio. Come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com.
Want a place to share your experiences without feeling judged? We have the place for you. If you've experienced sightings or contact with ETs, ghosts, cryptids, or UFOs, and you'd like someone to confidentially look into the matter, just fill out an SOR Sightlines report. Our goal is to help you get the answers you need to the experiences you've had with our professional team of researchers. Your information stays 100% confidential. The SOR Sightlines report. Fill out your experience today only at spacedoutradio.com.
Psychic Sundays, spiritual communication, ET contact, Sasquatch in your backyard. We will have it all on Cosmic Passport with me, Elizabeth Anglin. Each Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, at spacedoutradio.com, I will take you on a journey of enlightenment. The goal is learning from the soul on out. We'd love it if you joined our experience, Cosmic Passport, heard Sundays at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
From British Columbia to Northern California, Pacific North Weird has Cascadia covered. Check out our feature videos at spacedoutradio.com, where I, Vincent Zunza, and my super sleuth partner Alexandra Sullivan track down the weird and strange stories from around the Pacific Northwest, from Bigfoot to Mel's Hole and everything in between. This is what makes life exciting. So why report the normal when we can report the Pacific North Weird right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
Welcome to Spaced Out Saturdays with me, Dave Cruz from Beyond the Strange. Our weekly feature on spacedoutradio.com will take you around the world discussing everything from the paranormal to the latest conspiracies from the top guests in their fields. We won't leave any story uncovered. Spaced Out Saturdays at spacedoutradio.com starting 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. And hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you along for the ride. Tomorrow night on the program, Dave Cruz is back with Spaced Out Saturdays, and then Elizabeth Anglin, Spaced Out Sundays, Cosmic Passport. Both start at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time, right here at spacedoutradio.com. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network on 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. We are also live on KTLK, The Fringe FM, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas. And if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Ololigmancy. Ololigmancy is your password. Yes, Ololigmancy. Nobody knows what it means, but Bill just pops them on up. Bill sets a password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if you want to follow us on social media, you could do so on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio if you want to connect live with me during the show. You can also give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You could join us for live chat in the SOR Space Travelers group as well. We're also on Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. You can listen to us on iHeartRadio in the United States, TalkStream Live, tune us in on TuneIn, download and subscribe to our shows on iTunes. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including joining the SOR Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. You can rock out to some Bumblefoot, shop at our Spaced Out Radio store, read The Encounter online, or watch great video viewing from UFO seekers and Contact TV, everything at spacedoutradio.com. Tonight we have the SOR Paranormal Round Table. We got a plethora of people joining us tonight. Joe Roop from Lighting the Void on KTLK, E Squared, Eric Markham, Eric Cooper from S4 and Spaced Out Radio, Elizabeth Anglin from Spaced Out Weekends Cosmic Passport on Sundays, and we have Amy on the radio, our resident major Amy Martin, and Rich Giordano from the Paranormal Code. Everybody, welcome back to the show.
Glad to be here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
It's fantastic.
Rich, let's get to your first question of the night.
Oh, hey, all right. That's me. So, we've already touched a little bit on it, but disclosure, this is for each one of you. I don't know any of you except for Joe, Dave, Eric, and Amy. So, look, for everybody out there, my question is on disclosure. How far do you think we now, just to let you know, I don't think it's ever going to happen, but how far away are we from disclosure, or are we never going to have it? And I'm going to go to Joe Roop. And then just go around. Discuss.
Man, I don't think it's I hate to say this, but the more I look into this disclosure thing, not in my lifetime and not in my son's lifetime. That's my opinion on it. I don't think it's ever going to happen.
No, not going to happen. We had disclosure, like I know Markham was going to say the same thing, but we had disclosure in the 50s with the UFO flap over DC. You can't get more disclosure than that. There's radar footage. There was eyewitnesses. That's disclosure. To have an official government agency come out and say, yes, the aliens are here, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Worldwide disclosure.
Right. All the other governments, a lot of the other governments have actually already come out and released their files. They all look at the United States and say, where's your files? Well, we're not going to show them.
So not even 100 years? Not even 50 years?
No.
I don't think it's ever going to come down like that.
No.
I don't think it's ever going to be this. I think it's just going to be one of those things that is so subtle that there's going to be a generation that, and it might not be too far. I don't think it's that far down the line, but there's just going to be this generation that takes it as a for granted fact, and then you're not going to have all the social upheaval, all the negative ramifications that disclosure, like we all would love to see in our lifetime. It would, that would be great, but face it, that would be a crap storm. It really would. The lawsuits, the different, look, Harvey Weinstein this is just an example. Harvey Weinstein apparently did what he did to some starlets, and now everybody is hopping on, well, so-and-so did this to me. So, it becomes an avalanche effect. Everybody wants to be in the headlines over this. UFO disclosure would cause the same type of thing. Suing the government, trying to sue, it would just go ballistic. I think that's the main reason they'll never give hard disclosure, is because the legal ramifications, it would just be too much. It would overwhelm the system.
Yeah, because a lot of people would probably look up at them as the gods.
Yeah, but what is the definition of disclosure? Technically speaking, we've had 24 countries on this planet disclose their UFO files. Maybe not as much as we want, but why does it seem that it has to be the United States that brings out disclosure?
No, it doesn't. It could be anywhere, as long as it's a global thing that's happening at the same time. That's what I think disclosure is when we finally have a relationship with another alien being from another planet that made themselves known to us, and it's all over the whole world. All the governments have been talking to them, meeting with them, maybe privately. Maybe it happened, months earlier, and then they just started leaking it out. I don't know, but it's possible it's already happening and we don't even know it.
It's okay. Here's the deal. It's happening slowly. It's been happening since the late 80s and early 90s. And it didn't go over well the first time it was tried, with an impetus from the Zetans and what our Keith Andrews calls the council, whatever it is. And I was in the middle of that. So I know it didn't happen well because it was an SHITSTORM, and I have files from Harvard, from doctors saying you absolutely can't do this because you're going to take away the traditions that people rely on in order to stay healthy. So we had Harvard Med School doctors saying whether or not this is true, we can't promote it, whether or not it's true, whether or not you're doing good science, because you will take away religion, and people rely on religion to be healthy. You will take away traditions that people rely on to have faith in the universe and the world. And not only will you have a crisis of mass hysteria, you'll have a health crisis, and possibility will do quite a lot of harm. So, the whole disclosure thing, you can go back to Harvard's inquiry into John Mack's work and say, oh, right, it really wouldn't work. Tried to do it, found out there was too much pushback, can't do it now. When the Zetans look forward, they're talking about 2050 to 2060, and you could even look forward to 100 years. It will happen, but what will happen in between now and then will be a lot more climate change, a lot more change in how we govern ourselves, a lot more change in how we talk to each other, and changes that we don't expect. So I'm going to stop there, but yeah, there will be disclosure. It's not coming from governments. It's not coming from us. It's coming from the aliens.
There's always that voice of reason. Every time I want to respond, Thomas has a question here in the chat room saying, what will the round table do if alien ships land in your yard? As someone who has had that happen, I can honestly say you don't go near it, because it's scary when it happens, man. Oh, yeah. It's scary when it happens.
I'm totally waiting for it.
Yes. Well, I could tell you this: if it happens again, I'm going. Damn it, Carl, where are you? I need that spaceship to come on down, because I'm going. But anyhow.
I was going to touch a subject Dave don't like right then.
Don't you even start. I know where you're going with that. I know where you're going with that, and we're not going to mention the G word around here.
All right.
Giordano?
No. Well, close.
In my mind.
Ready to go.
Uh-huh. Absolutely. All right. Cooper, let's get to your first question of the night.
All right. So, I'm just, get ready to get irritated, Dave. What constitutes a paranormal expert?
I want to hear Amy's version of this, because she gets mean on things like this. Mean, I tell you.
I'm not Me?
I say, so
Like,
asking.
I can't believe in any experts.
Hold on, Amy. We're barely hearing you. You sounded like you're a mile away.
Can you hear me now?
Barely.
No.
Nope.
Yeah, I think it's coming through your computer. Your mic's not picking up or something.
That's really weird.
Well, let's get back to Amy on that.
So I'm asking this question because, I don't believe in paranormal experts. I believe in specialists. I believe you can be a professional in your actions, but I don't believe in an expert. There's no such thing. In an unpredictable, unknown, or the unknown field, there's no such thing as an expert. But there's an argument in the Forest Moon Paranormal group that this one individual, oh yeah, you could be an expert. No, you can't. So I figured I'd bring it to the panel.
Well, you're right. Years ago, when I first got into this, I was invited to be on some silly show, and they called me an expert. I'm not like an expert. I'm only into this a year. Right? So, but what constitutes an expert? You're right. I've been saying that forever. Nobody's ever an expert. It's hard to hold on to that evidence and keep it. Everything is either recorded and shaky, or it's not in your. If it's not in your hand, you can't study it. Really, that's how I feel about it. Now, you could be smarter than most people, so you're an expert to them, but you're not really an expert. You can know everything in the field and not be an expert, especially in the paranormal. That's what I mean in the paranormal. Because you need to hold on to it. You need to study it, dissect it, analyze it, test it, rebuild it, back engineer it, same thing. So if you don't have it, how can you?
I was waiting for Rich to say make love to it, too.
That, too? You know me well.
Sleep with it. Sleep with those files.
If these people are getting their information, and the only way you can get information from a spirit is generally through an EVP, a plasma box, something like that. But anything can come through those devices.
Right.
So how do you know and how do you know what that spirit is telling you is fact, unless you cross over? Now, if you've had a near-death experience, I might hold a little bit of validity to it. But the people they're calling so-called experts, they got their information from the same sources we do. So, and you're absolutely right. I've been called an expert before, and I correct them immediately. Like, no, I'm not an expert. I'm a specialist. Now, I'm a case manager, but my specialist area is UFO and alien abduction. That's what I specialize in. But an expert in the paranormal? No, never. But, yeah.
What about an authority, though? I mean, could you call someone an authority in the field?
Yeah, of course. If they have authority. Authority over what? Like the main head of MUFON or something like that?
No, like a ufologist. Somebody like Tim Doyle or somebody like you. Would you say they're an authority in their field based on the work they've done? But you can't really be an expert.
Yeah, that's more of a fancy word, I guess. Yeah. You could be an authority. That's a specialist in a way, right? I mean, there's many meanings, I guess, to that. Yeah, it's all taken in how it's taken out of context.
Mm-hmm.
I think it goes by the attitude too, and how it's perceived. If you're seen as an expert, everyone looks at you as the know-all,
right?
And that's usually how I interpret that. Is an expert is someone that is supposed to know everything there is to know about that particular field they're talking about, and has no more knowledge to gain. Whereas a specialist specializes in a certain area and is still learning.
Perfect.
That's what I differentiate the difference is.
That's exactly what it is. You nailed it. That's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Can't say it any better.
I find that anybody who says they're an expert in this field, they are people that I try and stay away from. Example, the people who called themselves experts about the photograph that I released about the ghost on our ghost hunt.
Oh, you had experts look at that?
Apparently. Apparently we had experts looking at that, and yeah, I lost a lot of respect for a couple of them.
What was their expert opinion?
That I had to explain numerous times that we weren't conducting an investigation, that we were on a paranormal tour, and that the photograph was caught by someone who was, shall we say, a non-believer who just happened to be on the tour. Let's see. He said that it looks like a cardboard cutout or some sort of pareidolia. I've never seen pareidolia that clear before.
It wasn't a cardboard cutout. That's
you
an
can see through
expert
the
said
hand.
that.
Well, you know what? You're going to get a lot of things, though, guys. You're going to get a lot of things going through when you have something that people can't understand. And the problem that I see with the whole aspect of the paranormal right now is we're not doing anything scientific. We're on this notion that we need to debunk rather than prove or disprove the evidence. And we all want to, it seems like we all want to disprove before we've even proved. It's like going the opposite of what we see with the government, the United States or Canadian court system, which is innocent until proven guilty. You know what I'm saying there, guys?
Yeah.
But isn't that the nature of a skeptic, though? That's just the nature of a skeptic to always be that way, right?
Yeah, but there's a difference between being a skeptic and doing harm. And I think a lot of these people actually do harm because I think they believe that, honestly, they are the premier voice of the paranormal. And if they say it is what it is, then that is what it has to be in truth and reality. So I find it very, very shameful that a lot of people would do that. And I'm not just saying that because the photograph involved me. I'm saying in general, I've seen a lot of things out there where I'm like, damn it, that is good. That is great. Let's make this happen. This is a good session here. And all of a sudden, we don't get it. We don't get it anymore. You know what I'm saying? Because the skeptics out there are wanting to believe that nothing can be a part of anything.
What's this about skeptics?
Oh my goodness, you came
Her
in at
voice
the
is
wrong
back
time.
now.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, you're talking trash
No.
about me while I'm off the
Absolutely
air.
we were.
You're
Absolutely.
not the only skeptic on the panel. There's me too. I'm the scientist. Well, it's a thing. It's being skeptical is not bad. Being a closed-minded debunker is. A skeptic's going to look at the picture like the one we recently had on Forest Moon Paranormal's page, and I found some photos similar to it that had a prosaic, a rare but basically prosaic answer. That doesn't mean I'm right. It just means that this phenomenon looks like that one. So, but that doesn't mean I'm right and the people saying it was a UFO are wrong. I'm just putting out an alternate view.
You're talking about the red Sprite?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But a debunker is going to say absolutely no, that is not a UFO in the clouds with lightning discharge. It can only be red sprites. That's wrong. It's my job as the scientist here at Space Out Radio and at FMP to offer an alternative, whether I believe it or not, whether anybody else believes it or not. I put out the alternative. That's to give you the opportunity to compare, and as Coop and I were fond of saying on a previous show we used to do together, do your own research.
Mm-hmm.
I was
just going to say that.
Where it's at. You don't take anybody, and especially if somebody claims to be an expert, do not take their word for it. I might be an expert scientist, but I am not an expert on the paranormal in any way. There's no way to be an expert in the paranormal. It's too wide open. There's not enough references. It can't be done. An expert is somebody who's got a wealth of clinical or reference knowledge behind them that has been, peer-reviewed and found to be, 99.9% of the time the best route to go. That's an expert.
Could you say a plethora of knowledge?
A plethora of knowledge. That means now, since I'm technically a guest, that means everybody has to drink twice.
Exactly.
Oh,
have you already had a few, preacher? Have you already had a few tonight?
Oh, I'm not in a position. I'm not in a locale right now where such would be permitted, other than coffee. I can slug down some coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the guy who is always doing interviews? The guy who is it Skeptic Magazine? Seth Shostak?
Yeah,
that guy.
I can't stand that.
That guy is a debunker, but he doesn't know anything about the field. Well, I can just tell. It was when he was talking about something, and they asked him, "Did you go there?" And he's like, "No." But then how do you know if you weren't there? Oh, well, the other people have been there, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy doesn't know jack anything about this.
Yeah, he's just.
I know
That's just
Seth.
his
I like
gig.
Seth.
I like him too because he says what's on his mind, but sometimes that gets him in trouble. The guy doesn't know anything. He knows a lot.
Well,
he's so smart. He's stupid.
You call
Well, the problem is when you've got something like Skeptical Inquirer magazine, they have an agenda.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with honest journalism. That has nothing to do with truth. They are taking a counter. They're taking, they're going to give this approach and debunk everything else. They're in their own right. They're just as religious fanatic as the person that will never look for a normal.
I guess I better sign off then.
Hold on a second here. Seriously, there is no signing off on that one. Come on.
No, seriously. I mean, come on. I mean, most articles with Skeptical Inquirer cite sources. Plain and simple. They cite sources. There are a lot of people that, they'll interject their opinion in various areas. I know lots of writers for SI and a lot of friends of mine that write for that publication. So yeah, I'm a little biased when it comes to that, but and I have my own opinions, and I see some articles that do seem a bit too dismissive or a bit too quick to assume what might likely be the cause. As a skeptic, I don't feel it's my job to dismiss everything, and not offer a likely explanation for something. If I feel like something else is, likely the explanation for something that seems to be a mystery of some sort, then I'll offer that. But if I don't know, then I'm going to do research, and I'm going to try to get out into the field. I'm going to try to investigate it. And a lot of people that write for Skeptical Inquirer, that's what they do a lot of the time. And I know a guy that does it full time. He travels around, he goes all over the world, and he's not just sitting there dismissing things necessarily. He's out there actually doing honest research. He cites sources, and I mean, what else can I say? If you don't like what he has to say, that's one thing. But you can't say that he's just playing armchair skeptic either.
Actually, I think there's what the difference is here, and where we get into trouble is when skeptics say that they believe in science, but they don't use any science in their research. What is that bell?
That's the boxing bell. We're on. It's on. Here we go.
Well, here's the thing. I've been attacked personally by some of those skeptics, and I was attacked by one in 2009 who not only didn't do research, he didn't do any, he basically used two examples that he could make sound bad, and they were misconstrued and misreported. Now, I've worked at MIT, I've edited research journals, I've edited theses. I know what research is. I have managed a $5 million NIH grant. I know what research is. And when skeptics get out there and say, well, we believe in science, all I can think as somebody who is often attacked by skeptics is, please go do some science. You know, you can be a journalist and you can have an opinion, and that's wonderful, and thank you. But if you say you believe in science and you don't even know how to do it, please get out of my face and don't attack me.
Yeah, but, you know, not all skeptics are scientists, but that doesn't mean that, you know, all skeptics aren't scientists either.
No, they're not doing science. They're not doing any science at all, Amy. And they say they are. And if you've done science,
you're making a blanket statement about all skeptics.
I can make a blanket statements about all skeptics because I've read their work. And there isn't anybody at the top of the pile who is doing actual scientific research in a way that would be accepted by any academic institution. Maybe Shermer got in on something in the past for psychology, but that's not actually science. That's a social science.
Are we talking about the same guys that like the Seth guy? And aren't they the ones that slammed Graham Hancock and then just tried to discredit him and then told and then just tried to rub his nature in the ground, you know, and then they had to publicly apologize for doing that because they got outed on the radio show for doing it?
Yeah.
There's an agenda behind
you're
there, like
referring to
preachers
skeptics.
talking about.
It's just like referring to the lot of believers. You know, not everybody believes in the same, you know, flavor of extraterrestrials, or, you know, not everybody believes in, you know, it's like you have the Tom DeLonges of the world who believe the extraterrestrials are evil, and then you have, you know, other people who believe that extraterrestrials are good. You know, it's like skeptics. You're going to find a lot of people out there who will blindly debunk things, who won't go and do the research. And then you will find some other people out there that do. But you can't just cast them all into the same pile, you see.
Well, I won't
Well, they
cast
all read
you in
that
the
guy's
pile.
magazine. I know that.
Well, I won't, you know, I'm not casting you into the pile, but what I am saying is if I had $1 for every time a skeptic said, these people who have been through this don't know about science, and they have a belief system and they have a religion. If you'd been through what I've been through and you've worked where I've worked, not only do I know more about science than any one of these people, I also have more experience, and experience is not belief. And seeing them with their opinions being touted with saying, we believe in science and science says blah, 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 blah.
That's very scientific there, Elizabeth.
Oh, it's very
first off, you can't just believe in science, because science is ever changing and it's based on evidence. You know, you can believe in evidence basis.
Says how many of these skeptics, the most well-known ones, they're saying science says blah 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 can't happen, and so these people don't know about science. And the rhetoric that's used, the logic and the rhetoric, there is a technique to skepticism that is not based in science. It's based in sleight of hand logic and rhetoric. And I'm not saying that you do it. I'm not saying that Eric does it. But I can tell you, after 25 years of having to deal with it and being attacked by it, you can tell I'm still not happy about it. And I'm not happy, being a person who has worked in science, having to hear skeptics say that they're scientists.
All right. I'm going to call an end to this one, because otherwise... Amy, your first question of the night. Is it anything about science and skepticism?
Actually, no. I was just, you know, I was going to probably revisit sort of the seasonal questions that I had the last time. You know, of course, Halloween's right around the corner. Does anybody have like any particular favorite Halloween films on their list?
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Good one.
Mine are all
That's
children.
a great
Mine are one from my childhood. You know, like The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
Mm.
You know, I'm not a horror movie kind of guy. I really am not. So I suck in that tradition. I still like the cartoons, though.
Rose Red.
Rose Red.
Yep.
The Shining is good.
The
Zombieland.
Changeling, starring George C. Scott.
Ooh.
Still scenes in that movie, even though I know they're coming. And it's usually something I do with my dad, because he's the one who tipped me off to go see it at a drive-in. There are still scenes that, even though I know they're coming, I anticipate them, when they get carried off, the hair will stand up on the back of my neck. It's just that good a movie.
I'm going to sound cliche here, but I still like the Jason films. I always either watch the old Jason films or Freddy Krueger films from my childhood during Halloween.
Friday the 13th.
Yeah. The music,
Yeah,
I'll never get over that.
Yeah, Halloween is a great movie. Great music in that. The original. And number 2 was good, too.
What was Halloween? I didn't like the third one. It had nothing to do with the series.
It was awful. They put on a mask and a little computer chip makes them turn into snakes.
The brains turned to mush, and the third one was stupid. The rest of them were great because they brought in the character with the boots, the trench coat. And you still don't really know who he was.
The Rob Zombie remakes are fantastic, and they used
awesome.
Isn't that the wrestler? I don't know his name.
Kane Hodder.
Kane, yeah. Isn't that him?
Well, let's see. Kane Hodder. There was oh Lord, they actually were in a reality TV series together. Ghost busting monster players type thing. Yeah, that was a good one. That I enjoyed the Rob Zombie ones.
Yeah, they were really good. Good detail on the original, how that you can see things you never saw before, and how the kid was really psycho because he had a slutty sister and mom and dad that was a drinker, and you learned a lot about Michael Myers. Yeah,
that's why I like the backstory was so good in that. That was what made those. The original, you got this psycho wearing an inside-out James Kirk mask, killing the hell out of everybody. That's great, but why? And I think I like the way Rob Zombie goes back, gives you some backstory, and you're thinking, well, I'd be a crazy, psychopathic murderer too, probably.
Yeah, he was bullied, and because he was a little, he was a little enclosed or whatever you call it. Yeah, it was very interesting.
Introvert, yeah, he was the introvert. He liked his mask, he doing his masks and stuff. Yeah, I really did enjoy somehow a friend of mine gets weird movies sent to him, and he gave me a working copy on DVD of that movie with the production company watermark down in the lower right hand side. And it's actually different. The working copy I have actually there are slight differences between that and what was the final production release. So I've kept it as just this little curiosity to have.
Well, and also what just came out on Netflix? What is that? Strange Universe?
Stranger Things 2.
Yeah,
Stranger Things 2. Yeah.
Don't anybody spoil it for me.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
I'm up to episode 3 or 4. I finally had to shut it down. I looked at the clock and it's like 2:00 in the afternoon.
Isn't
my
it cool
alarm
how they
goes
just do
off
the
at
whole
4:40. Yeah.
They give you the whole season so you can binge watch.
Yeah, it's awesome. So the first couple of episodes good?
I'm plugging my ears now.
Okay.
They're good.
Yeah, me too.
That's all I'm going to say is they're good.
Thank you.
Oh man, I'm a big time Stranger Things fan. I love the music. I love the old synths. I was telling Dave earlier that before I ever heard any of the music or even saw the trailer, I just saw the font for Stranger Things, and I said, "Oh my gosh, that's the Stephen King font." The one that you would traditionally see on some of his 80s covers, of some of his books. I'm like, man, they really got that down. They nailed that. And then I heard the synths, and they went right back to 70s and early 80s with that, and all analog, and made me really happy. And the story was just amazing.
I will say this about it because it's not a spoiler. It's been, they did this in their own
You're about to spoil something. I'm plugging my ears.
No. It's very. If you are in tune with the H.P. Lovecraft or the Lovecraftian mythos or that kind of imagery, you're going to love season 2. And that's all I'll say.
You said that before. You keep telling us more and more.
All right, let's move on to another question. I think everybody on the panel has asked their first question of the night.
Yep.
I'm going to get to my second question then, which is in regarding Sasquatch. famous or infamous, whatever you want to call him, Sasquatch investigator from Canada here, Todd Standing, has filed a lawsuit in the courts of British Columbia and Alberta, the two most western provinces, about trying to prove the existence of Sasquatch so that it can become a protected species in the western provinces. And there's a lot of people making fun of him, including our resident attorney general here in British Columbia, a gentleman by the name of David Eby, who, when asked about the civil action, says it's top secret. I cannot talk about it. He said it with a chuckle. Do you think it's come time where, with everything going on, that we should be taking Sasquatch to court?
Well, here in Washington State, we have a county that's already, did it years ago, and Bigfoot is a protected species here. So, why not?
I don't see the problem with it. I personally have never seen Bigfoot, and I think, Dave, you said you may have had an experience or two.
I have seen two.
Yeah, so something's going on, and I think it should be protected. I think that's great. I don't think he should be laughed or scoffed at, because you never know. And that's what we were talking about. They don't know, so protect something just in case. I mean, what's wrong with that? Put a signature on a ballot or something. Give me a break.
Exactly.
I think it's, so what?
He has filed a civil lawsuit filed in British Columbia Supreme Court this past Monday that accuses the British Columbia Ministry of Environment and British Columbia Fish and Wildlife Branch of dereliction of duty pertaining to the interests of an indigenous wildlife species. Now, I will say this. A good friend of mine knows a couple of the fish and game wardens around this area, and they are not allowed to speak about Sasquatch.
What?
They are not. One second, Eric. Eric, give me one.
Top secrets really only go so far.
What, Eric?
I said top secret only goes so far. I'm sick of hearing it's top secret. No, you know what? It's a cryptid. Take top secret and shove it right up where the sun don't shine. Because yeah.
No, but the whole fact is, Eric. The whole fact is does it? Is it a dereliction of duty? Because they are not allowed to speak about it because they don't want people going into the forest and potentially putting on suits as a gag and getting shot. I would assume that is one of the reasons, because let's face it, there's a lot of stupid out there.
Also coming face to face with a bear.
Right. But if you're putting a suit on, you're asking for trouble.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but there's a lot of... We're going to get into this verbal jousting again.
What?
Eric, comment.
You get what you get for being stupid. You're going to put a Bigfoot costume on and go out. Here's my thing. You got shows going out that are promoting killing Bigfoot. That's stupid. Now, if you pass laws protecting Bigfoot, it's going to shut down shows like that. It's going to shut down the stupid people going out there trying to kill him. And I'm sorry, but if you put on a Bigfoot outfit thinking you're being funny and get shot, I got no sympathy for you. Just like the stupid people that put on clown outfits after it comes out. You know what? You get shot and get your butt beat, you got it coming. The same concept.
Yes, but but when you combine youth, alcohol, and guns, sometimes there is a lot of stupid around there.
Indeed.
And it's time to weed the gene pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, I mean, and that may happen. Honestly,
Let them kill each other off.
Right. Well, and that may
Right.
happen, but I would like to see it go. I don't think Todd Standing is the guy who should be doing this because there is credibility issues that he has suffered through with Sasquatch investigation. I don't know if he's the right guy to do it, but all the power to him. And, it wouldn't hurt. Even if the government of British Columbia or Alberta does it as a goof and says, yes, we're going to bring in this law to protect Sasquatch. Okay? There's no harm in it. There's no harm in it. You put it on a Friday night ballot, when the press has gone home, and you make a little spoof out of it, much like, Fife Symington with the Phoenix Lights alien, and you have some fun with it. You bring it into law. It doesn't hurt anybody, but I'm curious to see where this goes. And this is a story we will be following on Space Out Radio's Encounter Online. So I'm curious to see where it goes. Would you guys, any of the panel in your states, if there are Sasquatch sightings there, like to see Sasquatch protected, even though it hasn't been proven?
Yeah,
I would
definitely.
love to see it protected in the South, but I don't think it would matter. We still have stupid people here that's going to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the difference. If he's protected and they still do what they want, then you've got
They can get
repercussions.
punished for it, yeah. And to say the guy's
there's
being a
there's
derelict,
a tangible punishment. Yeah,
that's stupid. To say he's not doing his duty, I mean, if it's in the guy's heart and he really believes in it, he's doing his duty, I think,
The sad thing about that is those people who are saying no, they want to say yes. They believe. Come on. Even if not all of them believe, they go home and talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to sign it, Mary, but, if I did, that's my job. The next household, I'd like to sign it, John, but if I did, that's my job. So, maybe they're handcuffed. There's only so much they can do, right?
Well,
No?
I think the
Okay.
thing here, this law is not so much I think it goes beyond the issue of do you believe or not believe in Bigfoot. I think it's just more of a,
just in case,
like Joe was saying,
yes,
let's go ahead and we can protect it. Right. Because there's going to be that one redneck out there, or that one person that's going to get a Sasquatch insight and is going to see dollar signs, not see the humanity, and say, I just won the lottery, bang. Where if we have a protected species, and I'm pretty sure I wrote an article about that Washington, that county in Washington, or that township that, I think I did a Newswire report for that way back in the beginning of the web page, but there is no harm done, and signing on to it one way or the other, I don't think that should hurt anybody's political career. Maybe I'm being naive there. I'm trying to think, we're just, what if? Ha ha, Halloween, and that'd be the best way to do it. Ha ha, it's Halloween, let's protect Bigfoot. But make a real law. But you could get it past the naysayers and the people that are always looking to jump on a politician's butt by doing it this time of year, and to couch it in sort of a tongue-in-cheek, you've got an out. So if anybody really, during a campaign says, well, my opponent backs equal rights for Bigfoot, then they can always fall back and say, yeah, well, it was a Halloween prank. Next question,
Well, the sad thing is, all these years, nobody's bagged one yet. The evidence is, in my opinion, from what I've seen, I don't know everything because I'm not a Bigfoot researcher all the way through, but there isn't a lot of good evidence that is very convincing that we can pass a law to protect them. Maybe that's what they're thinking too. Maybe if we had a fingernail, a tooth, or something, I don't know.
Or as Mr. Skeptic likes it at hashtag Spaced Out Radio, he loves it when we talk Bigfoot and the word scat. So I just wanted to get a scat comment in there because that'll make him happy about that. Scat. There we go. I can't wait to see what he puts on Twitter for that.
Well, that's something I covered in my presentation. If you're going to collect evidence, maybe retroactively it would be valuable if we ever had a live specimen that we could use as a reference for all the other evidence that we collect thereafter. But basically, without anything to compare it to, no reference sample, it's kind of useless.
Look, after all these years, they just found a new gorilla that they've never seen, a species of gorilla in some other part of the world that they never knew existed. So if we can just find gorillas that have never existed, there could be Bigfoot out there somewhere. So why not protect it just in case,
Right. The mountain gorilla was considered mythological.
Mm.
When the early European explorers got over in the Congo, and they heard about these giant apes, or however the locals, they laughed and said, "Ha ha, great, yeah, bull," until they encountered them. So it's not unheard of for a species to be known by a local people, and science just calls it myth until they've got one. That's the way it's going to be with Bigfoot. I don't care how many films, pictures, fecal matter, hair, I don't care what you got. Until there is a live or dead specimen to be biologically analyzed, none of the evidence we ever catch, or we ever are lucky enough to capture, is going to mean anything other than being a curiosity.
You know what? I got a great question from Thomas on this topic. He says, PETA gets involved in every other animal on this planet. Why don't they get involved with Bigfoot? Amy or Elizabeth, let's hear your points on this one.
Why do you think I like PETA? I don't.
I'm a fan of the PETA Pit. I don't know if you got the PETA Pit down there. It's a fast food joint with Greek
PETA
food.
Is lovely to eat. It's lovely. Yeah.
That's the only PETA
I do enjoy some pita bread.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now I'm getting hungry.
Yeah. Why PETA doesn't get involved? Because they lose. The skeptics would attack them, and they'd lose money because they actually exist to make money, and they have lots of famous people helping them do that. And I know that sounds bad, but they've actually done some things in the past, like super gluing horses' eyelids shut. That and going after the horses that are working. That's all they've ever known, saying that they need to be retired. And to me, being a horse rescuer who actually rehabs horses, if you have an animal that is being treated well, that's working, doing a job that it's used to doing, and that it gets exercise every day, that somebody cleans it and takes care of it, and it's working with a human being, I think that is actually a good thing versus saying, oh, you evil people who have done this to the horse. Sometimes their morality is skewed to what people like to call me, which is a snowflake libtard. It's just skewed. But they're not going to make any money off of Bigfoot unless somebody comes out in a real Bigfoot fur coat suit. And then they'll make money off of it.
Yeah, like I Love Lucy used to wear the mink stole.
Yeah.
Right? So they have to wear it.
You have to wear it. You have to be wearing a Bigfoot suit for them to make money off of the issue. And then they'll come out.
But yeah, then there's the problem with sourcing the suit and verifying, and that's. I think, I don't think skeptics are waiting to descend upon, organizations like that unless they're looking to make a buck from it. And, of course, if PETA put out the bold claim that they were going to go after people that were attacking Bigfoot, I would say, well, where are these people and where's the proof? Let's find the evidence, because if PETA is sitting on it, that hypothetically speaking, I mean, man, I'd want to see this. That's pretty interesting. But I don't think they're jumping at the bit to get involved with anything.
Yeah, without proof, they won't get involved, and then they're still, that's too far out.
Well, before we change topics, because we only have a couple minutes before we got to go to break, I think that this is a good cause in the world of Sasquatch. This month, we also, came upon the 50th anniversary of the famous or infamous Patterson-Gimlin film, which I still believe is real. And we can debate that if you want to do that in the next hour. But there's so much revolving around Sasquatch, and I would actually like to see it protected. I really would like to see it protected. I think it's beautiful that we can actually all agree on that. Even if it's not real, it doesn't harm anybody. You know?
Not at all.
See, what I want to do, though, is everybody talks about, how realistic, the Patterson-Gimlin film looks, and who would create a suit that had, with Bigfoot with breasts. That just makes me want to go out and, create a suit with not, 2 breasts, but, maybe 8. Just to make everybody
you'll have every
shut
man
up about it, because
you will have every man
to create a suit with breasts is a little bit demeaning, but it's that's all I hear though. And,
there was boobs on it. You're not going to put boobs on that costume. Come on,
let's make one with boobs everywhere then.
Well, yes, but you're looking at it with a 2017 attitude, not a 1967 attitude.
Hey, that doesn't mean,
Swinging
people were
boobs.
spirited back then.
But those boobs were swinging. They were swinging, honey. Come on.
No, they weren't swinging. It was the suit was big. It was folded over.
On a costume.
Oh, it was not folded over. If anything, it had silicone implants. Come on.
Okay.
Come on.
Don't back down too easy, Rich. Don't back down.
I know my boobs. I know my boobs. And those are good boobs right there.
All I know is
Balloons.
there's no other animal on the planet that walks like a human, yet Bigfoot, this one, just happened to walk like a human does. A gorilla doesn't walk like us, a giraffe, an elephant. They all have their own, the way they walk. Well, that thing walked exactly like that guy that lived in that town who probably bought that suit. Wearing shoulder pads and a big... You ever look at the legs on that thing? That is, man...
Oh, I got to cut you off right there because you're describing my former mother-in-law all too well right now. We're going to take our final break of the night here on Spaced Out Radio. We got the SOR Paranormal Round Table. The gloves actually came off. I think there was a dropping them at center ice between a couple of the panel. It's getting interesting. We got 1 hour to go. And we'll see where it goes from there. Hope you're enjoying yourself. We're having a lot of fun as well. Talk to you on the other side.
We're getting strange on Saturday nights. Hi there, this is Dave Cruz, and each Saturday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I will take you on a tour of the weird and obtuse on Spaced Out Saturdays, from aliens to Sasquatch and every tinfoil hat in between. We got you covered. Join us at spacedoutradio.com for Spaced Out Saturdays. See you there.
Not ready for bed on Saturday night? Right after Spaced Out Saturdays, hop on over to S4 with Corey Ruiz and me, Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. With S4, there are no limits to what we try and uncover. From government conspiracies to helping clean up the paranormal, no topic is safe on S4. We get to the heart of the matter, of the subjects you want to learn more about. So tune in on S4 starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, only on spacedoutradio.com.
Have you had an experience you can't explain? Would you like someone you can trust to look into it? We have just the place. The SOR Sightlines Report is the place for you to find answers, whether it's Bigfoot, UFOs, Dogman, ghosts, aliens, or anything strange. The Sightlines Report will get you connected with one of our expert researchers to find out what's going on. All of your personal information is kept 100% confidential. The SOR Sightlines Report, a place for you to find the answers you need, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
This is Eric Markham, news editor for the Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter Online. We have put together a great team of writers and journalists from all over the world to bring you top-quality paranormal stories, from alien encounters to the latest conspiracies. You won't find any of that fake news here. True stories and top-notch reporting as we look to bring these experiences to the mainstream. The Encounter Online, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Do you want to know the truth? Do UFOs exist? Are aliens real? Are the governments hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO seekers, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow along with us as we journey across the United States, visiting UFO hotspots and alien hotspots, trying to document the UFO phenomenon. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
It's Cosmic Sundays with me, Elizabeth Anglin, in Cosmic Passport. Let me take you down a 3-hour spiritual journey where we will get into everything from ET contact to Psychic Sundays. It's a journey of listening and learning together with some of the best professionals in their fields. You can tune in to Cosmic Passport at spacedoutradio.com every Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and hashtag Spaced Out Radio, and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Space Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the program, Spaced Out Saturdays with Dave Cruz, and on Sunday, Elizabeth Anglin is in SOR HQ with Spaced Out Sundays and Cosmic Passport. Each get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. Great to have you with us. We are also live on KTLK, The Fringe FM, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas. And if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Rich, you still have me laughing. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Oluligmancy. Oluligmancy is your password. Yes, Oluligmancy. No one knows what it is, but Bill sets a password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio if you want to connect live with me during the show as well. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can also join us for live chat in the SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook. We're on Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. You can listen to us on iHeartRadio in the United States, TalkStream Live, tune us in on TuneIn, download and subscribe to our shows on iTunes. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including joining the SOR Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. Rock out to some Bumblefoot. Shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. You can also watch UFO Seekers and Contact TV videos or check out The Encounter online. Everything with a plethora at spacedoutradio.com. We bring in the panel tonight on the SOR Paranormal Round Table that happens the final Friday of every month. We got a packed house in here tonight. Major Amy Martin from Amy on the Radio. Joe Roop and his fantastic hair from Lighting the Void. E Squared, Eric Cooper and Eric Markham from S4 and Spaced Out Radio. From Cosmic Passport on Spaced Out Radio Sundays, Elizabeth Anglin and Rich Giordano from the Paranormal Code. Everybody, welcome back.
Grazie.
Hey, glad to be here.
Great to be back.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we're going straight to Joe Roop here. Let's get your question in. Fire away.
All right. So my question is about disclosure. No, I'm just playing. It's not about disclosure.
Bigfoot, UFOs.
So a friend of mine who does a little research for my show was showing me the numbers of missing people in the world. And then we were looking at articles, and we were kind of looking into vampires and just all kinds of stuff. But the theme that came up was missing people. And it's over 600 and something thousand in the U.S. I think something million. I actually forget the number in the world. My question is this something that we're not paying attention to enough? And how much of these missing people, or how many of them do you think, can be attributed to either abductions, UFOs, or conspiracy or government stuff?
Well, I think David Paulides' work, Missing 411, was awesome, and I'm sure you've looked into that one. I think it's a combination of government. I think it's a combination of portals that people walk into. I think it's a combination of alien abduction. I think you look at the overall numbers of it, you're looking at a bunch of different factors. And if you look at the cluster maps that they've done up on most of the missing people, water seems to be a factor. IQ seems to be a factor with some of the cases. And yeah, it's something that needs to be brought more out into the public of the dangers of specifically those cluster areas. And more needs to be looked at into it. I agree with you totally.
It's really scary, man. The more I was wrapping my head around it, I was like, that many people end up missing, just gone.
Dude, there's something scary. Yeah, almost a million people in the U.S. And you know what? It could be portals. It could be everything. It could be if you're walking in the middle of nowhere, and there could be aliens there. It could be, what we said before, a portal. It could be government doing something underground, popping up from underground, just looking around. Who knows what's going on? It's so huge, you will never know. But I think it's a mixture of everything, man. It has to be.
Butch Witkowski on this show, when we did a show about a year and a half ago on ET mutilations of people, he actually stated a fact that one of his sources in the FBI told him that there's around 1.3 million people a year that go missing in the United States. And that includes everything from murder to kidnapping to people who commit suicide and just disappear because they want to start a new life with a new identity. And when the FBI whittled it down, Butch was saying that it comes down to about 65,000 people a year that they cannot account for, like moving, maybe jumping the country or jumping the borders or going off the grid or whatever, because a lot of people, a majority of people who go missing do have some sort of trace evidence around them. But for the 65,000 people, he said his source claimed that out of that 65,000, they can't explain where they went, whether they went off planet or not, which is a very likely source of what the FBI says. We don't know where they went. They're just gone, and we can't find them. There's no trace evidence whatsoever. So it is a very interesting stat that you bring up there, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I like talking about Bigfoot, UFO. I do. And you had told me one day that there's plenty of evidence out there, enough to pass in a courtroom. So it's just all a matter of how you look at it. Well, after that chat we had, I really started digging into this stuff, and that's what stuck out to me the most. Now, I'm not talking about children. Obviously, there's a big travesty there, but I'm talking about people that just end up missing after these, shootings, events, 9/11, people that just disappear out of nowhere and never come back, and there's so many people that just disappear. It's very freaky.
The scary part is in some of those cases in Paulides reports, they had weapons, and that's what scares me the most, because I go hiking a lot up in the mountain behind the house. I take a gun every time I go. You never know what you're going to encounter. But in some of the cases with weapons, the weapon was actually disassembled and neatly, put in a pile. Their clothes were taken off, neatly folded up and put in a pile. And there was something to do with their shoes. In the bodies they did find, the shoes were missing. It's not sitting over, a few feet away, but the shoes were missing. And just little odd facts like that. And in a lot of these cases, the people they were in a group of people, and they were there 1 minute, they turned around, and this person was gone. Not like they fell off a cliff, not like they got lost, but they were right behind them and just disappeared. And in the child cases, they had a couple of child cases where the kids were on the other side of a mountain range. A 2-year-old's not going to hike over a mountain range. No way. And so, yeah. And in the search and rescue cases, search and rescue would scour an area and 2 days later find a body. And so in the cases where they did find a body, in the exact same spot that they already looked like the day prior. So, yeah, there's a lot to it. And 65,000 unclaimed, people missing, that's a high number.
Yeah, and I believe that's just like in the U.S., isn't it?
Right.
So
yeah,
Right.
just in the United States.
Yeah, but they don't all go missing at national parks.
No.
And just think about the sheer number of people that are evading taxes as well, adults.
Yeah, that's what Butch was saying. A lot of people leave, come up with new
People
identity
just
in another
want to go
country.
completely off grid. I mean, there are whole subgenres of just various things that are devoted to living off the grid, and some people just want to go off the grid. Some people just are kind of tired of social media and tired of society, and they just want to disappear.
Oh, I'd love to disappear.
That'd be great, wouldn't it?
But 65,000 of them, I don't think so.
Right. That's a lot.
But you also have to look at over 2.5 million people in the U.S. die per year. So is that really such a large number in comparison?
It is to me. If they're missing out of thin air, yeah. To me, it's a little freaky. Death is natural. Disappearance not so natural.
Yeah, the 65,000 is that there's no explanation to the 1.2 million. That's a lot.
But how many people just wander off and get lost? And how many of these people are elder people? I've had friends who've had elder parents who have had dementia, and they've wandered off. They found them several states later. And
yes. That's my question, though. How many of this? Because I know there's obviously natural reasons for this, but with the large number in the world on the planet, there's got to be just a number amount of it's got to be contributed to something fishy going on. Some of it's got to be.
Some of it has to be. There's people living out in the woods. There's people living all over we don't know about, hiding out and living in the woods, don't want to be caught.
I mean, you have to look at this pie, though, this giant pie, like a pie chart of missing people, and you have to say, well, some of these people might be just, they want to be missing, so they're evading taxes, or they want to disconnect from society. And then you have another section of people that might be victims of violent crimes, another section or subsection of people who might be involved in organized crime. And then you might have, and the list goes on and on, so there are, a lot of natural explanations for these things, not necessarily, people just being abducted by extraterrestrials or being let off into the woods by Bigfoot. There are a lot of things, and if you were to look at all of these different things and compare it to, say, like, as I, offered, the 2.5 million, I think is what I saw, people just die per year. You have to imagine that, sometimes those deaths, aren't as simple as we would like to imagine, something would have such a simple explanation. Some people just do actually wander off and they pass away.
So what about the 9/11 case? The 9/11 cases where all those different witnesses were missing or never found? Especially, people that reported that they heard 2 blasts and stuff like that. Do you think that's just natural?
I mean, I don't personally know a whole lot about that.
No, Joe.
So I wouldn't be able to speak to that.
Those people said something at the time the government was really scared, and now they're not that scared anymore because more time has passed and more people are being called crazy for thinking something other than airplanes brought down the towers, which we all know. Logically, they just can't fall at free fall speed. But yeah, people at that time were being knocked off because they were talking at things that the government didn't want them to talk about. But that time has passed. I don't think people are getting knocked off that much for that. But back then, yeah, there's all sorts of reasons why people go missing. Dementia,
but even
Alzheimer's.
So, you're still talking. If that were true, and I'm not saying that it is, but if that were true, you're only talking about a handful of people. You're not talking about 60,000 people.
Well, that's not. He was just pointing out. What about these people? Yeah, it's a very small portion. Yeah. But you add them all up, 65,000. My goodness.
Well, okay, we've all had the thing with the Mandela effect and how things correct. What if some of these are just people that wink out of our timeline because in some other alternate timeline something happens and they no longer exist? Or at least they don't exist in a certain spectrum of the multiverse. The ones that are just walking in the woods and disappear behind somebody. Maybe they wink out because they're just no place. The universe will correct itself.
Yeah.
And the way, if you take the multiverse theory and the multidimensional theory, there's got to be corrections.
That's cool.
Wild.
Does there have to be a correction?
I'm saying that's far out.
What if
I need a lot of drugs for that one.
Yeah, I was thinking, what if Goldilocks didn't eat the 3? I was thinking like Disney movies on that one. I don't know. I don't know. That could happen, I guess. Sure, it could happen.
It could happen.
There's no that could almost be researched as far as...
That's a good encounter article there, Preacher.
It's a good nerdy.
Amy, you had a comment on this?
Oh, no, I'm good.
She's leaving.
I'm good. I could go on for a long time.
Amy, I'm more with you on this about sort of non-paranormal reasons for there being so many missing people because of, we haven't done research, or maybe Paulides has, and unfortunately I just don't like him because he's been mean to people I know. But maybe there's not enough research on just the statistical ways that people do go missing. And if you do go out in the woods, or if you are driving and you end up in a canyon, a deep canyon, or you fall off of something, or it's hard to find anything in the world. I do lost animal readings, and so many things look like so many other things, and people fall under things, and there are people that kill people, and there's shoot, shovel, and shut up. And so I'm kind of with Amy on this one, that a lot of these are statistically going to be from normal, mundane sources of the way people disappear. But I love what Eric says, well, maybe the timeline corrects. But I don't think very many are from aliens, but I bet some are. It's just, I really don't think it's going to be that many. You're not looking at 65,000 people, or even half that, or a quarter of that, or 10% of that are going to become food for, what does our Keith call them? Ticklacs or lectics, or whatever they are. I don't think that's happening. But that's
not what he's saying. He's saying 65,000 people don't have an explanation. Didn't say it was paranormal. There's just no explanation to it.
Yeah, right. It's just a freaky thing to me.
Well, here's something to consider, okay? As far as, and I'm backing the non-woo-woo factor people here. You look at how long it took to find Stephen Fawcett, and they knew his flight plan. They basically knew where he went down, and look how long it took to find what little was left of his body. A dead human out in the wild is a buffet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, between the raccoons, the possums, all the scavengers and, opportunistic predators, there's not going to be a whole heck of a lot of a person left if you don't catch it quick. I mean, that's also the same argument that they will say about Bigfoot. Why don't we ever find a Bigfoot body? Well, it gets used up. So, probably a large percentage of the ones that just disappear without a trace that were on a camping trip or something, that might just be it. They got ultimately recycled.
Well, I can tell you an interesting caveat to this story, because it was just brought up in the chat room about the Highway of Tears up here in Canada. And I've mentioned this once or twice on the show before, where many First Nations women have gone missing, and unfortunately there has been, a few bodies found. Many have not been found, and they've disappeared without a trace. Talking with a Native woman here in Canada, First Nations woman, where her cousin's wife was one of the missing, she was saying that a lot of Natives actually believe that 20, maybe as high as 25 or 30% of those women that have gone missing were actually taken as Sasquatch wives. And I know you're rolling your eyes on that, a lot of people, okay? I get that. But First Nations up here believe there is, in the Sasquatch world, there's a lot more men than women, and throughout history, Sasquatch has been known to kidnap First Nations women and take them as wives. And they've tried explaining that to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, but it has fallen on deaf ears. Now, the Natives are not saying that there isn't a murderer or murderers making this happen, but they are saying, let's look at the plausibilities because of what our culture has experienced over years of time. So there's an interesting plausibility about that.
Yeah.
It just sounds to me like there could be a very high percentage of women that are victims of violent crime. It can be passed off on, and I mean, it can be accepted, by a community as some sort of folklorish explanation. That's really scary and very dangerous. If I were a member of a community like that, and I disappeared, I wouldn't want everybody to kind of shrug their shoulders and go, well, maybe it was Amy decided to go off, or she got kidnapped by Sasquatch. I'd want somebody to find the perpetrators.
Well, I absolutely agree. And there is a murderer up there. Why they haven't been able to find out who this savage person is, we have no idea. We have no idea. I'm sure there are clues. There's a lot of information the RCMP hasn't released, but it's just an interesting caveat to the missing women's story up here. That's for sure.
I'm not saying that it's impossible, but I'm saying that it's very highly likely that these women are victims of violent crime. This just being glossed over.
I agree. I fully agree.
Could it be could it even be a coping mechanism, a way to deal with the grief, or not to give up and say, well, she's obviously dead. If you have a tradition of the Bigfoot wives, and maybe that's just a way of hanging on to hope, or at least not abandoning hope.
Or it could be that many First Nations have done their own investigation and found clues that the RCMP are not looking at.
That's that could well be.
Exactly.
That's as plausible as anything.
Absolutely.
In terms of a human being a buffet, I have done a sky burial on a horse, and literally on a 40-acre property, within 6 months, there was very little there that you could say belonged to a horse, and it was scattered everywhere and beyond. And so unless somebody is actually looking for a person or a body to be in a particular spot, and then they start, circling out from that spot in a search grid, they're not going to be found if they're out in the wilderness.
All right, let's move on to our next question of the night. Elizabeth, let's get to yours.
Well, I want to get back to the Bigfoot in the legal situation. We had a case here where someone decided to do a Bigfoot symposium at UNM Gallup, and the Gallup campus is in Navajo territory. And a lot of Native Americans attended, a lot of locals attended, and we had our local Bigfoot researcher, Rob Kreider, who used his own money for this event. And in that, what has happened now is that we have a legislator who is saying that universities are not going to be allowed to do any research or symposium into fairy tale creatures. Do you think, and part of this was because the Gallup campus, head of the Gallup campus used some of his discretionary funding, and discretionary funding is so, he was a wildlife biologist, discretionary funding is so that you can do symposia on unpopular topics or topics that aren't normally covered and aren't funded by other sources. My question is, do you think this type of legislation is correct or right?
I remember reading that article online, and I remember I actually did a blog on that for the Spaced Out Radio website on government grants, that are using money rather than the $7,000 that they were using for this symposium. And some of the ones that came up, for research were incredible, like spending $300,000. And you can look these up online yourself. Spending $300,000 to see how cougars or mountain lions react to running on treadmills.
I remember that.
Oh, my.
Yes. I mean, it's ridiculous. You guys chat about it. I want to find these statistics here, so give me a minute here. But I'm sure I want to hear everybody else's opinion first.
I mean, we tried to get that guy to come on the show. I sent out several, to him or people that knew him, and apparently he was told, if you want to keep your tenure, shut the hell up and don't talk about it. I got absolutely nothing back from him. So
I think that kind of goes hand in hand too with legislation of protecting the species. If they want to prove the species exists and then give legislation to protect it, they should give grants to universities to verify that there is a Bigfoot, and that'll back up the legislation to protect the species. When it comes to valid, to me it's valid, because I've heard Bigfoot knocks. I've had Bigfoot experiences. I've got clients that have had Bigfoot experiences. I mean, we're talking logs getting thrown through people's car windows while they're driving down the road. Not a tree that fell, but a tree that was used as a javelin. So how else do you explain that one? So I see that as valid research. That more so than $300,000 for a cougar to run on a treadmill.
Do you mind? Do you mind if I read off a few of these examples? I found the article where I got the stats from. It's on thecollegefix.com. If you want to check it out. All right.
This was hilarious. I remember this.
All right. The Ohio State University used a $387,000 National Institutes of Health grant to study the benefits of Swedish massages on bunny rabbits. I lied about the mountain lions on treadmills. It wasn't $300,000. The University of California, Santa Cruz was Terry Williams, a professor, was awarded $856,000 to study mountain lions on treadmills. Let's see here. The National Science Foundation contributed $171,361 to the University of Rochester to find out that monkeys love to gamble and play video games.
Okay, that's really important research, though. That's really important. That goes into the realm of cognitive neuroscience, and that's really interesting. That's an entire topic you could do an entire show about.
All right. How about then, let's see, spending $307,000, and I'll give you that one, spending $307,524 of grant money from the National Science Foundation, and this went to Caltech, to see if sea monkeys can be trained to do the loop-de-loop and other tricks by following light.
Sea monkeys.
Sea monkeys.
Sea monkeys.
Yes.
See, that's the brand. That's the patented brine shrimp.
Yes. Okay.
I don't know if I buy that. Is that? I would have to read the study.
Yeah.
Well, I got funded for that.
I can read this here. Can sea monkeys be trained to do the loop-de-loop or other tricks by following light? With the financial support of 3 government agencies, researchers put these claims to the test, essentially choreographed a laser-guided synchronized swim team of sea monkeys as part of a study to measure the swirl created by their collective movements.
Well,
synchronizing
that would actually almost
cool.
have a weapon. That would almost have a weapon application.
Oh, absolutely.
If you could use brine shrimp to occlude, say, an enemy submarine sonar.
Yeah.
I can almost see where that might be legit.
Right.
But that's stretching it.
Penn State University received a $41,000 grant from the National Science Foundation to help pay for the study that will also examine how to protect employee well-being in organizational settings where too often there is negative media attention and scandal. This was all because of the Jerry Sandusky child molestation scandal and cover-up. So that one I could see. Let's see here. This might be a good one here. Columbia University used part of a $5.2 million grant from the National Science Foundation to develop an interactive game aimed at engaging people to get involved in climate change activism. Yes.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean...
Kind of sounds like behavior modification, a subtle way of doing behavior modification,
I think
maybe?
they've got their target audience a little off, though.
Well, exactly. There's plenty of these studies out there, that are just impossible where they're throwing money, at these. I don't get it.
You have to see, you have to read into the actual study and not the press around it either. I mean, because there's a lot of press sometimes that is negative press. A lot of people they just see a line and they can just spin it however they want to and make it sound like it's this thing, like they're wasting a bunch of money on large cats on treadmills when they might be measuring large cats on treadmills for a good reason. You never know.
I understand that, but if you have $856,000 for that study, looking at a $7,000 grant on a potentially scientific creature like Sasquatch is not a big waste of money.
Yeah, but see, that wasn't really a grant to do research for Sasquatch. That was just to do a talk. And as far as that goes, I really don't think that, if the money has been awarded to a department and then they have their own discretionary funding that, really should have nothing to do with what politicians say, that I think politicians should stay the heck out of it. Just like I don't think politicians should be involved in scientific studies if they're not contributors.
Well, it's a form of censorship. And actually, part of the thing was the guy did a field expedition. I think it was during his summer break or something like that. And he took a handful of students out and was essentially using Bigfoot as a scenario. If I remember reading it right, it wasn't so much that he was looking for Bigfoot, but it was, let's go out and, apply our scientific method, what we've learned in school, to see if it can be put toward this creature, this cryptid. So what he was doing, and for the little amount of money he spent, I think he should have been commended, not pilloried and basically put on a gag order if he wants to keep his job.
Yeah, and see that part of that's going to be the university, saying we want to keep all the rest of our funding, so shut up. But the other side of that, politics saying, no, you shouldn't do that. Well, it's like, well, you awarded the funding, and then this is discretionary, and you should really stay out of my business.
Exactly.
Oh, I thought of another thing, another reason why somebody might be studying how large cats respond to being on a treadmill. I would think that if you had some endangered large cats and they had to be in enclosed environments, not out in the wild anymore, then you would probably want to study whether or not they would have any benefit from running on treadmills. And I think that over $750,000 in keeping some large cats alive would probably be a good investment.
I had not thought of
speculation.
that. No, but that was a very valid point. I mean, there's a lot of these big cats that by the end of this current decade may only exist in captivity.
Yeah.
Snow leopards, we wring our hands and we ban the importation or the exploitation, but money talks, and if some rich Arab oil magnate wants his snow leopard hat or whatever, he's going to get it. So maybe that was a good idea to see. You see these animals in the zoo sometimes, and they're just flaccid.
Yeah.
They get
I
fed.
visit the zoo
They get
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the
then
other
maybe
thing
that
is-
was a good idea.
Chase triggers. If you're in California where they have cougars that actually eat people, and like in Colorado where I'm from, you want to find out, perhaps they're finding out what a chase trigger is, because cougars don't by and large like to run anywhere unless they're predating something. And there's a trigger for that, and there might have been trying to find out, okay, what's a chase trigger for these cougars that we can get them to run on a treadmill, and how far will they run, and how long and how fast will they go, or just will they run if we put this in front of them? And then you could tell people as a public safety thing, hey, don't do that. That's a chase trigger. We've scientifically studied it. So it might not be as dumb as it seems.
There's no telling what reason they decided to study it, but I'm sure that, if they're going to invest $750,000, if they're going to put, $750,000 into it, it's probably for a very good reason.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far because I've done research, and
all right,
if you're a favored professor or you got a rep, you can basically, put in ridiculous crap. But I think the point Dave's trying to make is this was a drop in the bucket that might have proven that a cryptid exists, and compared to the hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars that are put on some of these, granted maybe it's just on the surface, ridiculous things, research.
I wouldn't go so far
what
as
was
to
the
say
harm?
that 7,000 would have
As a matter of
proven-
scale, what was the harm?
I wouldn't say that $7,000 would have proven whether or not Bigfoot existed. I would think much, much more money would have to go into that. But, that's
Well, he
that's
might have
just
got
my
lucky.
opinion.
All right. We're going to move on here, guys, to our next topic. Why don't we get, Rich, your second question of the night?
Oh, okay.
Did you only write down one?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No, I didn't write any down.
Oh, God.
Oh, you're one of them.
No, because I didn't know. Oh, well, I don't want to say it, but no, I didn't realize it until just before. I must have missed it, the assignment.
Yes.
But
You
this
got a
is a good one. I have a question.
Okay, let's go.
All right, giddy up. So I definitely love me a conspiracy, right? Now, who doesn't? They're fun, whether you believe them or not, from JFK's little magic bullet to the moon being faked, the landings, whatever. Yeah, even the moon being faked. So I like what's been going on lately so much that I hate it, but it interested me. So how many of you out there believe the Earth is flat? And why is this stupid thing growing overnight like wildfire? Why are people believing this? Is it I think the Earth is just maybe 5 times bigger than what they're telling us, if there is this conspiracy, because we can't get a picture of Earth up close. We have to take several of them in strips, supposedly. So I don't know what you guys think about the flat Earth, if it could be a real reality, or is it bigger than what they're saying?
Can I start?
Giddy up.
All right. So the reason why people really believe in this is because basically there's a lot of fluoride in the water, and people have used aluminum pots and pans with coating for a long time, and they're spraying chemicals over our heads with lots of things that make us dumber, and it's all a plot to make us dumber so that we believe in things like a flat Earth, so that the people who are protected from this, who don't have fluoride in their water, who aren't sitting under the chemtrails, who didn't buy the bad pot and pan with the coating to make them dumber, can make more money. That's my point.
Well,
I don't think you have to believe in pots and pan coatings and chemtrails and fluoride in the water and things like that to know that there are trolls out there. And that's what it largely feels like. The flat Earth movement is just trolling, and some people are having fun with it, and some people are extremely deceived by it. But it is what it is.
Right, but just like everything else, how are we able to test this ourselves? So we can't be the expert. We have to take someone else's word for it. So I guess there's a certain curvature of the Earth that there's a mathematical equation. I think every mile it's 8 inches down or something like that, that the object further away you go should be dropping off in the horizon. But yet something that's 100 miles away should be 17,000 feet below the horizon, yet they can see these mountains across the water. They're only a few feet under the horizon. So how is that possible? That's why I asked. Maybe the Earth is bigger? I mean, could it possibly be 5 times bigger than what we think it is? Is flat Earth, maybe it's not flat, it's just a lot bigger than what we think?
I don't think it's...
Navy, I've been out to sea where there's nothing but horizon from, I mean, literally horizon to horizon. 15 miles out, 15 miles, surrounding the ship. It's curved, guys. It's not flat. No. It's round.
No, when they have 15... You have mountains that are 15,000 feet up. Let's say it's a 10,000 foot high mountain. 100 miles away, the horizon should have dropped so much off the curve of the Earth that it should be 17,000 feet below the horizon. Yet you can still see half of the mountains. So how's that possible?
Yeah, but where are you standing from?
It's a mathematical equation. How you figure out the Earth, the drop of a bullet. That's why they use all these equations to figure out the curvature of the Earth when they're building freeways and shooting people at a great distance. So,
all right, Cooper has a comment on this. I'm going to let him get in here.
I didn't hear him.
But see the scientific study that was done where the guy had a plate and was pouring water on the plate and showed how the water collects.
That was brilliant.
That's why
it was with the lemon. With the lemon. The lemon was the Earth.
That's right.
And I completely and I agree with Markham. Yeah, I've been on the ocean. I've been in boats, and there's curvature.
Of course.
I think Amy Martin's a flat earther, though.
Are you kidding?
No, they really believe it's a hologram.
I famously debated a couple of flat earthers. It was about a year and a month ago.
That's about how long it was since we had that individual on.
Yes,
It's a hologram.
God, that was painful.
Screwing with your consciousness from symbols and stuff, for the Luciferian agenda and the Freemasons that are putting up holograms to mess with your consciousness. It's not real Earth. It's Satan that's doing it, is what it is. It's
damn Satan.
Because
demons and Satan.
those pentagrams and stuff, watch out for them because they're playing with your mind.
First time in my life, I actually got called a Satanist the other day.
Wow. Well, I get smells.
Yes. I want to read you this. I did this interview with Shed Show Talk on YouTube. And they, so in the comment section, I got to read you this. You guys will have a good laugh over this. Let's see. I got called a fanaticist because we were talking about Carl the alien. At this point, I got called a douche because apparently it sounded like I was eating on the air and not showing the host any respect. I got called a fanaticist. I got called somebody who discredits real UFO sightings. Not in a zillion years did an alien visit you. There is nothing remotely interesting about you. Let's see here. Where's the guy? Oh, yes, here it is. Sorry, but this man, I think, is full of poo-poo, if we could call it that. Aliens are demons, and God will punish this man for leading people astray. Do not fall for this man's BS. His lies are of Satan. Please do not fall for his lies. He will lead you to hell. He's a wanker.
I would think
church lady from Saturday Night Live
is far from Satanist.
Yes, so apparently having questions asked to me about Carl has made me a Satanist. So I guess that means now I'm on the Flat Earth bandwagon.
Might as well. You're a devil worshiper, Dave.
Yes. So I'm going out on the limb here, and there's going to be people who actually take this next statement seriously. But I'm going to go on the limb here and say that apparently, since I'm a Satanist for running into Carl or Carl running into me, that automatically means I'm a flat earther and I have an agenda. So there I go.
Okay.
Of course.
Are you guys? Are all of you?
I'm older and in poorer health, Dave. I'll leave you a window seat in hell so you can sit with me.
Oh, perfect, perfect. Does anybody else want to concur with that? Because
you're one of us.
What's that?
You're now one of us. You're now one of us.
Did you say I'm a water buffalo? You're coming through.
Well, I said you're one of us.
Oh, yes. Yes. So
Yeah.
I just want to let you guys know that I am apparently a Satanist.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
I'd take it as a compliment.
Yes.
Yeah, dude.
Yes. That's the first time. That's the first time I've actually been ripped on YouTube that I've seen. It's kind of cool, actually. I feel like I've been indoctrinated finally into the
You
whole.
made it.
Yeah, I finally made it. I finally made it. But I'm not going to say who. I'll give you some good news that I actually just read here moments ago. This gentleman he works as a consultant for A&E, actually sent me a message on LinkedIn asking if I would be interested in helping to talk about UFOs on a new series that they are doing.
Yeah, buddy.
No kidding.
Go for that.
There you go.
I'm kind of shocked by this, and I like to share that stuff with the audience. You know, they have obviously no clue that I have a face for radio.
Do they know that you worship the devil? That you Luciferian agenda?
Yes,
And that you are a wanker above all.
Yes,
You're a wanker.
I am a wanker.
Yeah.
Yes, I am a wanker. You know, I did respond to a couple of them because, you know, the lady who said that I discredit real UFO sightings with my BS, I said, sorry you didn't approve of what I was saying. In fact, I had numerous experience I can't explain and have had many occurrences verified by professionals in research in these fields. I failed to see where I'm discrediting any real UFO sightings when I discussed this topic and interviewed many of the top names in this field of research. Perhaps you can enlighten me on where I'm going wrong, since you seem to be an expert on what BS is and what is not.
Oh, well.
Oh, man, you done cut that throat, and she won't even know it till she shakes her head.
No, she actually gave me a thumbs up for that comment, so I'm feeling good about that. Yeah, you know. But the guy who said that I'm going to hell here, let's see.
Hell.
Oh, hold on. This is new. He responded. I said, thanks for the warm welcome. I appreciate that. If God, who I believe in, is both Alpha and Omega, are you suggesting that he's only created life here when it's been scientifically proven the universe is infinite? He says, Dave, please forgive me for jumping to conclusions and for calling you a wanker. It's not like me, I promise. I'm feeling very frustrated and depressed in my life right now. All my life I've had problems with these evil demons. They've been having a go at me all my life, and that I have Jesus in my life, they have started to attack other family members who don't believe in God. So, you know, I saved the day. I saved the day. Dave wins on YouTube. Dave wins. I feel like
Champ, if you get on the A&E, Dave, you should leave all that out. Just don't talk about that. Just
disengage.
Leave that part out.
Yeah. Well, we may have to edit this one. We may have to edit. Hey, before we do edit it, though, hey, Champ in the chat room, I need to borrow your title belt because I won. You know, I got the apology. So it's all good. It's all good. We got about 5 minutes left here. Let's sneak in one more question. Who wants to go? Don't all jump at once.
So why do so many new teams pop up on Halloween? It seems like it's Halloween, and now all of a sudden everybody's a ghost hunter, and everybody's a paranormal professional, and they just go up out of the woodwork. I mean, locally, I'm talking, let alone, nationwide. And a caveat to that, and so, a certain paranormal ghost box person that we all know and love, who got out of the paranormal field, now has groupies that are going to Vegas, to the shooting site, to attempt to communicate with the spirits of the shooting victims. What are your thoughts?
Exploitative as heck.
Yeah.
That is not going to end well. If that's publicized too much, that's not going to end well.
No, and they're going on YouTube. These people, I mean, and that's a pet peeve of mine for one. You don't go to a crisis location. You don't go to a disaster. To me, at least 5 years, probably less than that, but at least 5 years. At least let the pain heal from the family members, at least, before you even think about going to, quote, communicate with the victims. That's crap.
That's like
these are the same kind of people who go into a house and provoke.
Well, I was going to say that's like Mark and Debbie Constantino. When that tragedy happened, there were people that were immediately wanting to go out there to, I guess, the Reno area and do EVPs to try to communicate with him. And
the worst part
really tasteless.
The worst part about that was they were saying, "Oh, Sam and what was her name? Sandra and what was his name? The wife beater, whatever Mr. Constantino's name was." They were saying, "Oh, they were in the paranormal. They would have wanted this, Amy. They would have wanted this."
That's just wrong.
That's horrible.
Wrong.
It's horrible.
There's a lot of messed up things going on there. You don't even try to pretend to know what was going on. This is just really, really sad and just without taste. And even if now somebody decided they wanted to go out and do EVPs of things like that, I would just look at them like, man, you have no taste. That's something I don't think is ever going to be really okay to do. That's just kind of crossing the line.
It's running over the line to me. You don't go to a disaster site, for one, until at least, and I say 5 years, but even to me, it depends on the disaster. It depends on the shooting, the violence that happened. No, you've got traumatized spirits, let alone the family members right now. And a lot of those spirits don't even know they've passed. And I don't know. I shake my head and it gives me a migraine. It seriously does. Because as an emergency response team, we're there for the spirit. We haven't even attempted to go there. We're not going to because we have enough clients daily that we don't need to go there. But I don't know. I have expletives, but we're on live radio, so I can't say them. But oh my God, it's just, to me, it's unspeakable.
I would agree with that. I think that it just shows the lack of consideration for a lot of people in this field. And, I don't want to end this show on a bad note, but on the flip side, there's a lot of good people in this field, Eric, and unfortunately it's the bad ones that continue to come on up. All right, as we start to wrap this thing up, Eric, let us know what's on S4 tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night is the actual Forest Moon Paranormal Astral team and the normal team members that are on S4, and we're doing Forest Moon Paranormal Halloween show.
All right, that's at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern. Elizabeth, what's up Sunday for you?
We're going to be talking to medium Paul, who has been living down in Brazil at John of God and Ciudad Eclectica for the first hour, and he's going to be talking about how Brazilian mediumship has transpired and transformed in South America, and how that's different than North America. And then we have Paisley and Jeanette Dames coming back from last week to do readings for people for the last 2 hours on Psychic Sunday.
Rich, what's up with your show? The Paranormal Code.
Yeah, the Paranormal Code is right on the Fringe FM, and on Sunday I'm doing my Halloween show where I am doing what I've been doing for the last 10 months, a live Ouija board session. It's the last one of 100, and that's right, I've been trying to make contact with the devil for the last year, and I'm going to talk about the evidence and everything Tuesday night on Lighting the Void.
Rich, we're friends. We're friends.
Amy, your call.
Yes, I'm going to be doing a show tomorrow. It's going to be at 11:30 Central, and I believe we're going to be doing a viewing of House on Haunted Hill. So we're going to be mixing video streaming with some live radio, and it's going to be interesting. Going to do some commentary.
Thank you so much. What time does that get going? 9:30, I believe.
That's going to be 11:30 Central.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
12:30 if you're on the East Coast. Joe Roop with the fantastic hair. Tell us about Lighting the Void.
Lighting the Void, lightingthevoid.com. Tuesday night, Rich and I are going to tear it up on Halloween. We got some surprises for you. And Wednesday night's Gary Parker, Alien Codes and the Pyramids.
Nice.
7 p.m. Pacific.
Nice. Appreciate all you hopping on in. You hear Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking us in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio. Tomorrow night, Dave Cruz is in for Spaced Out Saturdays. Elizabeth Anglin's Cosmic Passport, Spaced Out Sundays. That's your weekend crew, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. Want to say thank you to all of our team members for making this a great week, but most of all, I want to say thank you to all the listeners out there sharing our tweets, posting in the chat rooms during the show, telling people about us. Together, my friends, we own the night. I'll talk to you on Monday. Have a good one. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Have a good weekend. I'm out.